Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from Mail Fuzz TV. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, the bear, Matt.
Yeah, that's me.
And the ginger, Connor.
You know, I was really hoping you'd be more inventive than that.
No, you call me the bear, and it's funny because my friend's out of town this weekend with my wife, and they went past a store that had a pot-bellied bear, and she goes, "Hey, look, it's your brother." And I've never felt more honored in my life.
That's a high-ranking order for Matt in the Skullthorpe household. So yeah, this is a weird episode because we do not have books to talk about because it is our annual episode. This is annual number 3. What is annual episodes? What did they do? These are our end of year award episodes. So these are our awards for 2018 for the best in DC Comics, as well as a couple of bonus categories for other stuff as well. But that is what we're going to be doing. This year we have a new thing where we actually got our patrons to vote as well. So at the end of the show we'll have a sort of patron community winner section as well, and we'll talk about the results of that. So that's coming up at the end of the show. We got the awards. We'll go through best artist, best writer, best series, best single issue, best limited/event, and then we'll also do as a sort of bonus add-on, best Marvel and best indie book as well. And we'll sort of debate that amongst ourselves. The way this works is that we will present options for each category, and then we will discuss amongst us and then decide as a group what the three of us want to nominate as this podcast's winner of each category.
It may get contentious.
It may get contentious, and then for best book of the year, it's not just one we pick 10 and we rank them in order. We pick a top 10, which will be the main thing of the episode. That'll take up the most time, obviously, when we get there. So that is the plan. That is what we're going to do. In terms of news, actually, obviously this is not a regular... This is the only weird thing about not having books this week, and this just being the only episode this week, is that if there is news, we do kind of have to bring it up as well. There isn't really that much news, but I did see one thing of note on Twitter that I think is important. Brian Hill, who is going to be working on Batman and the Outsiders when it comes, he's actually leaving comics after next year.
Jeez.
But so you're thinking, oh wait, so that series is basically turned into a mini-series because he's leaving. Some people asked him about that because he said he's got he's got up to 12 issues. I think American Carnage is the book he does at Vertigo, and there's a couple other things. Someone said, well, yeah, but what about Batman though and the Outsiders? You're just going to be starting that soon in 2019, and he said that, oh yeah, that's the one that may be the exception if people like it, because I owe it to Batman not to quit that. So if it does well, he'll actually stick on that book.
Is there a reason he's quitting? Did he say?
Yeah, he's basically just pursuing other writing jobs. I think he's doing more TV work. Maybe I don't know if he's doing movies as well, but I know he does TV work because he worked on Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
His name popped up a few times during Titans.
Ash, right? It did, yeah. So I think he's just moving on to other writing arenas.
Fair enough.
That's what he wants to do, which is fair play. Obviously, I liked his short detective arc, and I was looking forward to the Outsiders. The fact that he's so confident about it and saying it'll stick around if it does well does at least imply that it's still coming out, because obviously right now,
which tells me he has at least 6 planned, right?
Yes.
So
true.
He'll get through those, and if it's doing well, he'll just keep going with what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Best now we're getting it April. Because it's not been solicited
Oh, true,
yet,
yeah.
has it?
Yes. Earliest we could get it now is April. Yeah, that's true. I was going to debate why you thought that. I went, no, you're right. We know all the March books now, so yes, that's correct. All right, cool. Also, at the top of these categories that I mentioned, I do have one or two other questions that I want to pose to everyone. That no, I think I know what the answer is going to be. The main one that I want to ask, but.
I only say this because I didn't prepare for any of the actual questions.
No.
Bonus.
These bonus ones you didn't have to prepare for. I think these are just discussion points. That's something to discuss the year. And Connor knew he should have prepared. This is on him.
I'll be honest. I forgot. I was working.
As long as you're honest, there.
Yeah. Connor. I fell asleep really early last night. For me,
Connor, I know you did because we were meant to record something and you just vanished off the face of the earth by 7 p.m.
Oh yeah, I was still at work at 7 p.m.
Okay, whatever time it was, you got home. Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Yeah. Luckily for you though, the design of this annual show is kind of around the idea that we come in and pick the options at the time. It's just good to get your memory going a little bit with a little bit of prep.
Usually Matt's the one that doesn't prepare.
Oh, Matt's been good this year.
I don't know what's going on. What did you bribe him with?
Matt gets a gold star. Do you know what it is? We convinced him to buy a PS4, so now he's become in tune with everyone else in the world because he's playing video games.
Kind of. My brain is stimulated, so like I woke up this morning and I got chores done because I know I wanted to save time to play Spider-Man later.
So you're saying this is because I haven't had time. I haven't touched my PS4 in a month. So is that it? Now I've gone to hell. I can't remember anything.
Yes, you're worse off for it. Yes.
We've done a personality switch, Connor.
Well, then we need to do less so I can have more time to play on my PS4.
which leads us neatly to an announcement.
Yes, speaking of definitely not doing this.
Yes, we got an announcement to make just before we actually kick it at the end of your awards talk. So I did post a poll on the comics Twitter, at DC Comics Podcast, if you didn't know what our Twitter was, inquiring about how people would prefer if we ever did a comic show that wasn't for DC Comics. Would it be preferable on the same audio feed or on a different audio feed? Obviously, this was just for the audio listeners. For people on YouTube, this makes no difference because you just get the shows on YouTube. But I was kind of poking fun at it because I really was overemphasizing how hypothetical it was when it wasn't hypothetical at all. Me and Connor had already decided something. We were just testing the waters to see what people would want. And I will say you're a bunch of bastards because it was the most useless poll results we'd ever had because it was almost exactly 50-50 down the middle, these results. Also,
no one replied to give their reaning.
No one did.
No one went, oh, we want it on a different feed because of these reasons, or the same feed because it's convenient for them. It didn't help us at all.
No, it was because
we were, guys. I approve of this.
Because we were debating, do we keep it on the same feed with Comics from the Multiverse, or do we have a separate feed? And we were hoping that the legions of fans would just decide for us and we wouldn't have to think about it. And then they split it down the middle 50-50 and we had to think about it. So I hate you all. But
we still haven't thought about
outsourcing. Only bad things come from outsourcing.
But yeah, so the announcement is, yes, there will be a second comics podcast called Elsewhere in the Multiverse. Which will be mainly just me and Connor. Matt might guest occasionally, but he doesn't necessarily have time to add a whole show to his schedule. He had fear in his eyes when we told him about this. But we will be talking about Marvel books, also other books as well. So there will be some indie stuff, some Image, Dark Horse, Boom, that kind of thing, depending on what we're reading. It will be a second show. The caveat to us doing this is that we can't do it. We can't record it until a Tuesday. So the next week's books will almost be out by the time it goes up every week, but that's just the price to pay for having it.
It's patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes.
Patience.
So starting next week, there will be an episode of Elsewhere in the Multiverse, and that'll be our Marvel / other comic show.
Talk about a great way to kick off a new year.
I know.
Yeah, right. It reminds me of when we used to do the specials. When we first started the Patreon, we would do like Patreon only ones. Where like me and Pete would talk about Archie, or there's a couple others that we did, and
it fell by the wayside because it was really random and kind of scattershot, and it was hard to. Whereas this will be a consistent weekly thing.
Exactly.
So
Pete's been reading Marvel, and I feel betrayed.
I've been catching up. I started catching up just because there was a few books I wanted to catch up on, and then it kind of turned into this idea. So over the last couple of days, I've been catching up on books that I didn't intend to catch up on, some of which I kind of like.
What we're saying is, Matt, you should just catch up because War of the Realms is coming.
Oh no, I'm only one behind on Thor. So
that's affecting the Avengers as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get them when I need to.
Also, Doubterman's back on that. I'm so excited.
Well, you read issue 7, I take it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it make you want to listen to Monomarth afterwards?
All right, guys.
What doesn't make me want to listen to Monomarth?
That's true.
Guys.
That's why we're friends.
Guys.
What?
Right. Let's move on, shall we? Let's not go down a hole of Marvel talk.
We're just giving them a preview. What they're expecting out of you guys.
You're not even on the show, Matt. There's no preview here. This is.
I said you guys.
I think what Matt's getting at is
yes.
when it gets to the end of this show and we get to the best Marvel books, Thor might be on there.
Possibly. If we're having a shared winner, though, I can't vote for it because I'm not
shared winner for that one.
Yeah, I feel like we all get one.
Okay, alright, fine. We'll all get one. Alright, so Elsewhere in the Multiverse is coming. If you don't care about comics other than DC, that's okay. Nothing about this show is changing. Nothing's happening. It's fine. In fact, the only change that affects you if you're just going to stick with this show and not add the other one is the annual episode next year, because that'll become the annual episode for both, because we're not going to do two separate ones. It'll just be one award show for everything. But that's it. Everything else, same as it always has been. It's just if you like Marvel books, you like things like Black Hammer, which we'll definitely talk about. I'm going to be talking about Alien books. We'll definitely be talking about the new Buffy book, Firefly, all that stuff.
Pete's even going to try a new Conan book, aren't you, Pete?
Yeah.
Begrudgingly, I don't really give a shit about Conan, but since it's an issue one, I'll try it.
Exactly.
I'll think that's enough to get me over it. It wasn't enough to get me over Doctor Strange.
Well, that's because
Yeah, shut up.
I have opinions on that.
Oh, but you do.
My opinion is Doctor Strange maybe isn't that great of a character, but hey, hot take.
Maybe that's how I feel about Conan, Matt.
No.
What do you don't know? You can't tell me how I feel about a character, Matt.
Yes, I can. No one feels that way about Conan. Big old muscles and loincloth.
I grew up a kid who was a giant fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I didn't even finish his Conan movie.
Oh, so you've never even seen the second one?
No, I've never seen the second one.
Or Red Sonja.
Wasn't the second one maybe way worse? I'm pretty sure every fan of Conan the Barbarian hates Conan the Destroyer. Is that not a thing?
Why worse if you mean fantastic?
I don't trust you, Matt. I do not trust you right now.
Pete's like, is this a trap or is this a trap?
Right now, all I can see is Mixie Pitalik staring at me, trying to convince me to drink the Kool-Aid, and I'm not doing it.
Have you seen Beastmaster, Pete?
I have not seen Beastmaster.
It's about equal with Beastmaster.
Beastmaster
had no budget.
I like how Matt checked first. You actually have a gauge for that. It's fine.
Yeah. It's about the same as that, but worse because Conan had a budget.
Is it possible that we're seeing a trend here where I don't see the appeal of these sword and sorcery fantasy movies? Is it possible that's just not my bag?
Maybe.
It's possible, but Jason Aaron can fix all bags.
Yeah. Except for Doctor Strange, because...
Yeah. Well, maybe Bethesda should hire him then.
Sure.
Took me a second, but yeah.
That was a good video game joke. I know Matt didn't get it, but that was a good video game joke.
That was not bad.
Based on recent
news. I'll give him that one.
I know Bethesda makes what?
The Fallout.
That one that's all...
In Skyrim.
Yeah. They don't make the one that's all in Randian. What the hell?
The what?
BioShock?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's not them, no.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so yes, Elsewhere in the Multiverse, and first episode will be before the next Comics in the Multiverse. We'll be doing that on Tuesday and going up sometime late Tuesday, early Wednesday. And the first one's going to be kind of weird because it'll be mostly us kind of saying where we are with all the current runs and what we like and what we don't like and that kind of thing.
It should be an introductory because it is the first episode. It is the beginning of the year. So
there's also only 3 single issues we've read from this week anyway, so those will be kind of the main event, I guess, because of the new issues, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than DC gave us.
It's more than DC gave us, that's true.
This is going on a podcast feed. This might give me something to listen to on Wednesdays.
Hey, look at that.
So, hey, look at that.
You could do. So look forward to that if you're into those other companies, those other books, and they'll all be timestamped. So if you don't care about Marvel, but you do care about, say, Black Hammer and Lazarus, because I'll be definitely talking about that when that comes back, that kind of stuff, you can just skip to those books at the end of it. So there you go. So that's coming up. So without further ado, we will dive into our awards, and I think what I'll do is we'll start with artists, and I'll do sort of artists, and then we'll do say singles, and then writers, and then limited, and then go into the big top 10.
Okay.
We'll start with that, and we'll go with that. Just because I feel like best series, best writers, and artists are the 3 biggies, so I'll spread them out, and we'll start with artist. So who would like to make their first nomination for the discussion for best artist?
I nominate Connor.
No, what art is?
Thank you.
What's
My art is sublime.
No, I nominate Connor to give us his nomination because I know he didn't prepare.
I can pull out a couple of big ones for this that no one's going to argue with.
You haven't done the easy ones. This is.
I did.
Okay, no. Actually, you know what? No, what not? I am going to already put out there Gary Frank and Mitch Gerrards. Right?
God damn it!
I'm putting those two out there. They're nominated.
Because
screw you, you prick.
So Connor, now you must nominate one that's not those two.
Okay. Sean Gordon Murphy.
Okay.
Okay, not a bad pick.
Yeah, White Knight. That was a really solid art. If you didn't like the story, I would find it hard for you to disagree with the art because the art always looked great.
Oh yeah, Murphy's art's hard to be against most of the time.
Yeah.
I found one. Solid. Screw you. This might be a running trend.
Yeah. It might be. No, Murphy's good. When I think of the year, I think Mitch Gerrards is a weird one because I'm pretty sure we gave it to him last year because we'd had like 5 issues of Mr. Miracle by that point.
Yeah, but he also did an issue of Batman.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I'm trying because I think obviously another one that was probably in contention last year was Janin, who I don't feel has been as notable this year. He's had some stuff in Batman and it's been great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not been as consistent or as prevalent as it was.
I think the thing is, we didn't have any solid. This is the Janin arc, right?
Yeah.
They were always like scattershot.
Yeah,
like that Penguin one where he did a majority of the art, but there was also different time frames, or not time frames, but different threads.
Yeah.
So
I think we do have to talk about because that was like half Janin, which was fine for the book because it was split in a way that made sense. But yeah, I think if we're talking about Batman though, I think I have to bring up Lee Weeks specifically for the Cold Days arc.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was gorgeous. He's got that moodiness that he brings to it.
Yeah. You know, Lee Weeks is fantastic.
Deep blacks, that kind of thing. His Mr. Freeze look great. I think that's a big one.
And the courtroom scenes are pretty dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
And if we're sticking with artists that Tom King's hogging, I'll use that word. He's hogging these great artists. Clayman's another one who's done some Heroes in Crisis, done some Batman. I'm sure he's been around this year and a number of things. I think he's one when he first popped up, and not for the first time ever, but when he first popped up doing Rebirth books like in 2017, we're like, oh man, he's really good. This is like comparable to Janin. This is like debatably better depending on your taste. And it's just kind of gotten bigger than that since it took off.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think regardless of how you feel about Heroes in Crisis, I don't think you can say a damn thing about the art.
No, not at all.
No, God, no.
You can't argue against it at all.
No.
So no.
I want to nominate Phil Jimenez for Justice League, and I think he worked on some at the beginning of the year, some Superman or Super something.
I feel it was on Super Sons for a while, but I don't know if that was this year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just based off of his Justice League work, which might be too far and few between, but they always look great.
No, to be fair, he's probably done the bulk of it this year because I mean.
Yeah.
Jim Chung only did like 1 in 7, I think, of the first arc, and then it was Jimenez all the issues in between. So he's definitely been the most consistent Justice League artist.
Yeah. This is what problems when you read too many books. As everything blends together, you don't know when
it was like, came out. What was the start of the year?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at this, I'm going, oh shit, yeah. Percy's Green Arrow stuff was still this year.
It was, which is probably a good reason to nominate Jean Ferrari in this conversation.
Yeah. It's where I was going next. I'm like, wait, that was this year? Like, that feels like so long ago now.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 issues, I'm sure, still at the start of this
4
year.
4 or 5 creative teams away, too.
Send, sure, yeah. Yeah, so that's I think that's a good pick. Jean Ferrari was great. He's doing Marvel stuff now, sadly. we have to lament
Traitorous
that.
Bastard.
I
guess
know,
we'll talk about him on the other show.
Exactly.
So is Percy, actually. Percy's in a Wolverine book.
Well, no, that's
Makes
just
sense.
it's an adaptation of his own radio play.
It's still Marvel.
Well, it is, but that was that.
He's not doing any extra work. He's just turning over his
It's
transcripts.
Here's my script. Yeah.
Still, His name's on a Marvel book, and it should be on a DC book. They scared them off with that stupid. Well, we'll get to that Nightwing thing later.
Did Joelle Jones do Batman this year?
She had some wedding stuff for sure. Because she did the Selena, issue where she's like getting her dress. That was a really good issue, actually.
Yeah. So I want to nominate. Speaking of other Tom King,
and Catwoman as well, obviously.
Yeah. So Joelle Jones, I'm a fan of her art. I like the clean style of the lines, and you know when it's Joelle Jones. Like we always, Connor likes to rail against the house style of the DC art. And I feel like Joelle Jones it's at that limit, but you still know because of the inks and the colors that it's her.
The inks are far too heavy to be a DC house style, and the colors are too flat. And I don't mean that in a negative way. No. Compared to the house style.
But it stands out, and that's what you want to find. But because I've heard people say that it is house style, but I think it's adjacent. No. It is just enough. It's pulpy. It's perfect for what she does. So. In the story.
Here's something I want to throw out here, actually, and Matt will jump on board to an extent here, I'm sure, but Kevin Maguire, who's been doing Supergirl since issue 21.
I left that one for you.
Yeah, the art in that book is phenomenal. Like, see when we thought the book had ended with issue 20, and it had been really good for, like issues 14 through 19 were fantastic. When Hauser was co-writing, and, we had that great standalone issue 19. And then 20 really left us on a sour note because it was like a setup for the unexpected or whatever it was.
Yeah. So unexpected.
Yeah, so unexpected. And then it came back, and it's came back as like one of the better books. I think it's been so consistent. It's been so good, and the art's a big part of that. The art is gorgeous, and it's so simple and clean and not pulpy, but it's got this kind of. It's the sort of thing. It's funny. I read my first ever Fantastic Four comic like yesterday. I feel like it's the sort of art that would work in a Fantastic Four book. It's got this like this could be like set in the '60s, like Jetsons style of sci-fi.
Yeah, it's very cartoony, but not zany. You know, like it's almost Tim-esque, but not as hard. Like it's soft lines and yeah. No, Maguire's very good. If you've never read him in Geffen's, I Can't Believe It's Not the Justice League. Like it's straight up a cartoon. Like it would fit in well with like Plastic Man and that kind of stuff. So
hey, speaking of Plastic Man, I do want to give a shout out to Andrea Melio for that, because that was really good art, that book.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, every time I heard you guys talk about it, it was always the art first and foremost, and then the story.
She's
right behind it.
She's doing that Female Furies book that's coming in like February, March.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So that should be good. Yeah.
I've definitely got a couple of options who have not maybe done enough work consistent throughout the year to be in contention, really, but enough that it's stood out.
Is one of them Otto Schmidt for the Batman annual?
It's not actually, because that was just the one. I'm thinking of at least 2 issues they've done.
Sure. Okay. Hit us.
One is Carrie Nord. The Wonder Woman.
Matt's not a fan. We know that, but
yeah,
it's fine. It's not. I don't see how it's great, but it's fine.
Yeah. And the other is Dale Eaglesham, who obviously did a couple of issues of Terrifics, and then Shazam.
Yeah, as I say, same with Doc Shiner. Like, Doc Shiner did a couple of Terrifics. He's doing one Supergirl, or he just did one Supergirl.
Yep.
Or he's doing one.
Yeah. It was the story in 25.
Yeah.
It's some of the best art, but it's like there's just not enough of it in the year.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Lupacino, because usually she'd be at top of my list, but
she's jumping around a lot.
So it wasn't a consistent run. Like even on her Wonder Woman, was that earlier this year?
I think it was. Yeah, that Swan stuff.
Yeah. So that was really good, but then it was like an issue of Wonder Woman here or an issue of Titans here, and like it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, no, that's true. But our art was always great, obviously. It was just, it was kind of scattershot in terms of where it was popping up.
The other one I want to mention that is Daniel Sampier for his the last couple of issues of Justice League Dark that I thought looked incredible. But again, it's only a couple of issues. It's not enough to really take the top spot.
Garrus!
Yeah.
Garrus!
Also, I have to, because it's up there, Gleason, all of his work. He's been working on Action with Bendis up to that point.
I've obviously not been reading it, but I can't really argue because hey, Gleason's
Gleason, you know what? Right? I might not have suggested Ivan Reis. Not that Ivan Reis's art is bad, but that last issue of Superman with all the 2-page spreads kind of puts it over the edge where I'm like, no, he has to be mentioned.
Yeah, he also kicked off Terrifics though, and
That's
it
true.
was like, is he the right person for this book? Like,
That's
it was
true.
like
Yeah.
it was fine, but it wasn't like Shaner or
It was not
Eaglesham.
right for that book.
Yeah,
He's been much better on Superman than he was on Terrifics. That's for sure.
yeah, but he
I
also did
believe
an issue of Man of Steel, and it looked really good.
Oh yeah.
It's Reese. So
More,
yeah,
more, most of those Man of Steel issues look great because it was all like these superstar artists for the most part.
yep,
So hard to fault them too much.
yeah.
But yeah, I was shouting at Garrus because he was attacking his brother Firefly, and it was distressing. And now he's scratching at the back of the bookcase. All right, chaos is happening. Chaos. So the first two I mentioned, though, jokingly, but clearly also high in the running for this. Gary Frank for all the Justice League issues, or not just sorry, Doomsday Clock is what I meant to say. Every time that comes out, we're praising the art, we're praising the emotions, we're praising the sequential storytelling and how it sets the pacing in a scene and the reactions to things within the scene. It's hard to fault it. It's hard to like root against it.
It's what I'm looking for in superhero art, right? Because like the way that he drew Superman in the most recent issue in 8, and then he looks up at Giganta and he made Superman feel small, and just with facial expressions and whatnot, and yeah, but it also he balances like the real world aspects too, because a lot of that early stuff is just kind of it's Watchmen Part 2,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's people walking about at night in the shadows, things like that. Yeah.
Does Frank do just pencils, or does he ink and color at all?
I think he inks it as well, but I don't think he colors.
Okay.
I'd have to check, but
I'm
I'm
just
not
gonna
sure.
find an issue of Doomsday Clock that I can pull out and have a quick check, because obviously we're talking about Garaz as the other obvious contender, and he does a lot of that himself, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, Garage, I mean, we talked about this a lot last year as well, but his Mr. Miracle stuff, again, it's a lot of the same things. It's very... I'd say it's more experimental than Frank's, but it's a lot of the same things are applying, where he has a really good sense of pacing in the scenes. He has a good sense of, like, okay, here's the beats between the lines. Here's how things shape up throughout the scene, kind of thing.
So real quick, Doomsday Clock is it just has art by Gary Frank, so and Brad Anderson.
I was trying to find a credits page because they're not just in the same place every issue, are they?
Oh man, as I'm looking, I just saw the cover for 9, and I haven't seen the cover yet. And the end of the month, next month, needs to get here as fast as possible.
I assume I've seen it, but I don't remember, and now I'm excited just based on you saying that.
Is this the one with
you want to know?
Is this the one with the kid reading the comic?
Nope.
Is it the one with the Legion ring?
Yeah, floating above Mars.
Yes.
And there's
that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I think the other thing you'd have to give to Gerard as well is how there's a lot of subtle things in that book about how he plays with colours. I mean, there was entire debates about Barda's eyes and how her eyes were changing colour at certain points in the book. And it's such a subtle little clue to maybe explain what's going on, and it was there. Such an attention to detail.
Found the credits.
Yes.
They're in a really stupid place. They're on the inside of the back cover.
Oh,
so they're
nice.
not actually on. They're not actually. Yeah, but I'm used to them being like in the book somewhere. So I'm flicking through every page. Going, I can't find them. Brad Anderson does the colors on Doomsday Clock. So
then pencils and ink.
Pencils and inks.
Yeah.
There you go. Any other names you want to nominate?
I think that's it.
I think out of the serious contenders for me, it's those two and Lee Weeks.
That's fair.
I put Man Up in there with them too. You know, that 4.
Yeah.
Short list.
I think the most boring thing we could do is just to say it's Gary Frank and move on. But unfortunately, I think that's also the right answer.
Yeah.
Perhaps depending on taste. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
Connor looks like he might debate me.
I mean, I'd probably ultimately come down with Gerard's out of the two, but I'm not like passionate enough about that to really fight you on it.
So Matt's
because
breaking,
both are like so fantastic that it's like I haven't got enough passion to separate them.
which means Matt's essentially breaking the tie. So.
No, I'm not going to vote against Gary Frank.
Well, I thought that might be tough for Matt. They might put him in a tough place, like on the spot, and he's like, "Nope, Gary Frank, screw Carter."
I mean, I have more than enough love for Mr. Miracle, but
Oh yeah.
when it comes down to it, it's Johns and Frank are my favorite team to ever work on anything. Like anytime they work together,
Yeah.
it's awesome. So,
I guess. I mean, Garrett gets the obvious runner-up slot, but Frank's just doing insane stuff. And you know what? We got 4 issues of Doomsday Clock in 2019, so he might yet win again next year.
Yeah.
Hey, the thing is, these issues are going to take so long to come out that they'll still be fresh in our minds by the time we get to the annual next year.
Yeah, I think the last one should be June or July. So.
Good lord.
Yeah, July.
Yeah.
It'll be July, assuming it sticks to schedule. Which to be
Yeah.
to be fair, on its every 2 month schedule, it's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, until they decide the final issue needs to be longer.
Sure. Yeah, and then that'll maybe be an extra month for the last issue, but. Okay, then it'll be August, but at least that's not so bad. When I'm assuming it'll end in July, and it might have to wait 1 extra month. That's okay. When it switched to every other month, that was soul crushing because it doubled the length of the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on then to limited/event series. So anything that's not an ongoing is basically eligible for this. The only rules we're going to have here in terms of what's not eligible is if, let's say, something's only 2 issues in right now and most of it will be next year, or most of it was last year and there was only 1 or 2 at the start of the year, then we won't count those. But anything where the majority of the mini was this year or event, we can count. So, because obviously there's not a ton of these, there's basically a short list that we can pick from. So, obviously Doomsday Clock is one you can pick from. You can have Mr. Miracle, of course. You can have Plastic Man. You can have Batman White Knight. You can have Man of Steel. You can have No Justice. You could have Batman Damned, because there's 2 out of 3 of that have been out. That's 7. Connor, before we started recording, Connor said there's no way there's 7, and I said there's at least 7.
Yeah.
I forgot about like half of these.
There you go.
Especially Man of Steel, No Justice, and Batman Damned didn't even cross my mind.
They all count. They're all minis. They're all limited series.
No, they do. Yeah. They do. I just
removing
forgot.
Doomsday Clock and are you counting Heroes in Crisis, or is that one of the ones that's?
I would save that for
only
next year.
3 out of 9.
It's 3 out of 9.
Yeah.
I would save that till next year.
So removing Doomsday Clock, that leaves me. I have 2 that I was really strong on this year, and that was Man of Steel. You had the artist that switched up every issue, and just it was Bendis setting the tone for what he wanted to do, and we got the branch off from Supergirl, so just completely restarted Superman and prevented Connor from ever reading it as long as Bendis is writing it. So that's hilarious. And then the other one was White Knight, which Murphy doing Batman and just kind of like a greatest hits.
So you're arguing against Mr. Miracle.
I mean, Mr. Miracle, I feel like it's going to get love down the line, I mean, and so,
I am willing to accept an argument that Doomsday Clock and Mr. Miracle as maxi series should not be eligible for this category.
But hang on.
Yeah.
This was a limited series. They are maxi is limited.
Sure. I'm just saying.
That's why,
that's
why they're on the list right now, de facto. But
because
the fact that they're
eligible for the main books, though, right? We've agreed that.
Yeah. I think we are going to have a very hard time deciding a winner if we take those out of the equation. Because we got
that's true.
Yeah, I like Matt's had his 2. Not counting those 2. My 2 would be Plastic Man and White Knight.
Right.
But
Mine's would be, if I'm taking out those 2, then it would be Man of Steel and probably Plastic Man.
So we have this rock paper scissors deal.
Yeah.
We all share one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Doomsday
like
Clock
Pokemon
wins.
for real.
Doomsday Clock wins. Let's just say it because it does.
Yeah. But see, I also feel now that that's 2 for Doomsday Clock, and it makes us feel like DC homers. Like even the title for Doomsday Clock is short to DC.
I know, it's so boring just to keep, which is pretty much why. So let's have the discussion ignoring that.
Does anyone want to make a case for Mr. Miracle?
I feel like some of the strongest issues came out this year, but
here's the thing though. I mean, the argument I guess for Mr. Miracle is that it ended this year, so we've got a full picture of what it is. And we had so much great discussion on every single one of those issues about what it meant, what it represented, about the art, about the storytelling. Everything's on top form. It's one of those books where I think it'll be like, you know how like DC has that shelf of like classic books that you always recommend to people. You recommend Watchmen, you recommend Year One, you recommend, you know, whatever.
Birthright.
Yeah.
This will be on that list. This will be on that shelf.
Definitely. This is going to be one that they keep in print forever. This will be getting multiple editions over the decades.
Oh yeah, see if you buy that first trade paperback with the 12 issues coming out soon, you're probably a fool because the deluxe hardcover is going to be in a year or two. Just
what I'm waiting for.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Because this already was supposed to have 2 trades of 6 issues, and they went, screw it, let's just give it 112.
Unless, of course, you're someone who prefers paperbacks, in which case, fair enough, go for it. Knock yourself out.
But you fool for not getting that oversized art.
When I was gonna say they oversized the art because a coworker lent me Invincible over the holidays, and this is the first time I've ever ran into the larger art
or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's whatever Image puts out, but it's
Image.
thick.
So it's just a deluxe then, I think.
Image just do deluxe. I've got a couple.
But it's the first time I really, because I have 2 Lazarus ones, but I just bought those for my shelf. You know,
you've not read them yet.
Yeah, I haven't gone back through because the series is still ongoing. But the bigger art really makes a difference, and I feel like you get that Gerard's art blown up.
It's why, in terms of, I don't buy physical trades anymore, except just deluxe editions is what I buy, and then Comixology.
Tell that to your bookshelf, Connor. We can tell you're lying behind you.
That was presents.
Oh, so you don't buy them, but you won't deny them.
Yeah. They sometimes just appear at my house.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yes. So. Yeah. Although I will say, even deluxe hardcover, if you're someone who likes absolute editions, I guarantee you this will eventually get an absolute. So make your choices wisely.
See, that'll take long enough that it's worth double dipping.
Sure. I mean, that's a personal choice. I'm putting all the facts out there. It's going to happen. Make your choices.
And arguably, buy the paperback on top of the deluxe and the absolute, just so you can lend it out to people.
Yeah.
Because you should be lending this book out to people.
Yeah. So
it's kind of the ultimate book for someone that goes, I don't like comics. It's like, well, here, read this. It'll change everything.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's for a specific type of person. Isn't like I think your average Joe who's just never read a comic, maybe not them, but I think for people who are kind of snooty and think that comics are really simple.
Yeah,
this is the book you say no, they're deeper than that.
That's who I immediately went to, because that's who I run into more than.
It's for the people who go, oh, it's just superhero stuff, right? And they don't care. It's like, oh, look, this is an example of what even a superhero book can be.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it is Doomsday Clock, right?
Yeah, because you could say they're almost.
Everything we just said is applicable. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's in a different way. Whereas Mr. Miracle was not that it was trying to get away from the superheroes, but it was like, hey, it's more than that.
Yeah.
Where I feel like with Doomsday Clock, it's like, yeah, but this is why superheroes are important.
I think everything we said applies to Doomsday Clock as well, except the part about it being standalone. I think Doomsday Clock means something because we care about these characters. It means something because we care about the universe and the ongoing events.
I can't believe that it's a sequel to Watchmen, and it doesn't, because whenever someone dares touch Watchmen, it's like, oh, sacred ground.
Yeah, but
this is the before Watchmen. Yeah,
they did before Watchmen, but from how I understood, a lot of those books were actually pretty good.
Some of them were, some of them were not.
Well,
but some people hated even the idea of it. But even the people who hated the idea of a sequel to Watchmen, most of them seem to have been won over.
I was never even tempted to try before Watchmen. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I just thought, I don't really need this.
I want to go back and check out the Darwin cookbooks.
Yeah,
he did a couple of them.
And those are the good ones.
Darwin, but I'm not tied into Watchmen as most other people are. Like, it's fine, but I much prefer what Johns is doing with the Watchmen stuff here than what Moore did originally. But I feel like if I was reading comics in the same mindset in the 80s, I would have felt that about Watchmen, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for its time, it's doing a similar thing to what Doomsday Clock is doing now in this time period.
Yeah. Except this time it's actually tied into the continuity and going to affect things when it's done.
And that's what I care about, because I'm a continuity wonk. Like, as much as I try not to be,
You
I can't
are,
help
yeah.
myself.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. You just are. Yeah, this is tough. I hate to just have a boring award show. I mean, that's why we're making the point of still discussing all the other options, because we can still have the good discussion even if the winner itself is boring.
So,
Yeah.
do you two want to talk about your the case, even though it's clearly not winning because Doomsday Clock's winning, but the case for Man of Steel? For you, so if you two want to have that.
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, Man of Steel, it's kind of in a weird place where I don't think it's a great, like, standalone read. It's kind of a weird one because it's there to set up the ongoing. So it kind of...
It's the preamble.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a mini...
Do you know what it is?
But it's
an extended version of the Zero issues we got at the start of Rebirth.
Yeah?
The Rebirth one-shots.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd agree with that.
No, in the way that, do you remember? I don't know if it was Superman or Action, whichever one it was. It was, I think it might have been Superman, but it was the the Rebirth. Yeah, and it was like, okay, and this is setting up both Superman and Action, and it's setting up the start of those runs.
Oh sure, but I mean in the sense that those Zero issues were clearly flashbacks. This was not. This was all current present day stuff.
What he means is it's a prologue.
Sure.
It is.
What I'm saying is, though, is that it's not like, if we talk about Plastic Man is just I mean, it's kind of left open for a sequel, but it's just like a complete story. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Man of Steel is not, though. Man of Steel is, no. This is to go and read these all 2 books now. This is not ended.
Obviously, it wasn't quite in the same conversation, but the same of this would apply to No Justice.
Obviously, yeah. No Justice would also fall under that. Whereas, again, White Knight, open for a sequel, but finished, self-contained.
Getting a sequel, as far as we know.
Getting a sequel, yeah. Had a title as well, didn't it? I seem to remember a title being...
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah, Murphy was tweeting things.
He tweets a lot, though.
I gotta get the collected edition. I might run to the store after this. I have some shopping to do.
So I guess we're segueing to me and Matt. It's like, hey, White Knight's great.
Yeah. It's I kind of when I brought it up. It's the greatest. It's a Batman thrown together in a blender. And then whatever Murphy wanted to do, because there's elements of the movies, of the original, campy movies. There's some Nolan in there. There's some animated series, Year One and Dark Knight Returns. Like there's elements of them all, and it's just kind of this nice Elseworlds almost.
It's funny that I had as much fun with that as I did with Plastic Man, in very different ways. Like, I think both of them are extremely fun examples of what they're doing and fun to read.
I thought when it was fun. My only debate was I didn't think it was actually doing anything deep. It seemed to pretending that it was, but it wasn't actually doing anything deep.
Yeah, I mean, why I loved it wasn't the social commentary aspects of Joker and trying to do right and show that Batman's causing more harm than good. I just liked it for the superficial reasons.
Yeah, the book was at its best when it was these ridiculously well-drawn car chases and giant freeze cannons. That was when the book was gold.
Did particularly love what it did with Harley, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
It did kind of clean up that Harley, the difference between the classic and the new.
Yeah.
Is they're actually 2 different people, and, people don't notice because they're not paying attention, and that's us being Joker in that. So now you guys talk about Plastic Man real quick.
Plastic Man, obviously they mentioned the art was really good, but Plastic Man was just this pulpy book about a loser who sucked at what he does and is trying to be better, and then ultimately by the end says, I'm going to try and be better still, even though it's really hard. That is essentially what Plastic Man is.
And really, all that matters is that it's Wang.
It's so Wang.
Is Wang good or is Wang bad?
It's both.
Wang
That's
is
the
life.
Beauty of it.
Wang is Wang. And is that what the kid tells him?
Yeah.
Wang is Wang.
It's just Wang.
It's just Wang. Yeah, it's so Wang. Oh. So Crash.
Yeah.
So Shui. So I got to crash the mode, Matt. I got to crash the mode.
Yeah.
But that has delightful characters. It was constantly making me laugh. Plastic Man, not only just through his like obviously the constructs that he becomes, because that's usually entertaining because he'll do wacky cartoon things. But
obviously we mentioned the artist in the best artist section, but so expressive and so cartoony in the transformations.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
No, it was gold. But it did leave one big plot thread open for a potential sequel, and it kind of even said at the end question mark or something like that, or to be continued.
Yeah,
hopefully,
he definitely hinted at it.
Yeah, so hopefully Simone gets a sequel, because which I kind of like. It's kind of almost the Dark Horse Hellboy kind of system where it's just minis, but they get sequels over and over if they're doing well.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I know Bendis has been pushing kind of for that. with non-superhero comics, and I know Brubaker does that too. It's like, well, when I have a story, it'll be ready, you know.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing this thing at Image where they'll have breaks between each arc, which is kind of the same thing except the numbering keeps going.
It's a way of having the artist be the same throughout, yet still be consistent.
And I think for something like Lazarus or Saga, I think it's really important that it is the same artist the entire time, because it is this one story, this grand story.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I like when Lazarus did it, and you got the X+66, and it let Rucka work with other artists, and see their take on the Lazarus world.
There's books like some of the Rucka books are a great example. Like Black Magic with Nicholas Scott. I can't imagine that book with anyone else at all.
Oh.
Well, don't worry, Brett Booth's going to take on the next arc. You'll be fine.
Don't play like that. Dude. Don't put that out to the universe.
Look, Rucka already promised me it was coming with Scott in 2019. It's fine. I know better than you do.
But it's kind of like these things when they're ready, and like we know Rucka has the story. It's just waiting on the art.
Yeah, Lazarus is doing this weird thing though, where it's changing format and it's doing these quarterly prestige issues instead of like regular issues now. So it's changed its name slightly to Lazarus Rising, and now it's going to be like 60-page. I think $8 books every 3 months instead of
that book's Lark, right?
Yeah, it's still Lark. Yeah.
That's why X+66 happened, was to give Lark time to kind of decompress.
It's the main series still. This is like the continuing of the ongoing essentially, but they're doing it in this new format. But there will be a backup with a different artist as well in it, so
that's fine.
They're shaking things up a bit, but I mean, whatever. But hey, so but the idea of a sequel to a mini, like, because White Knight may get one, White Knight's definitely getting one, Plastic Man might get one. We're hoping it will.
Gail Simone tweeted the other day and mentioning she was working on something for DC, because someone was like, "Hey, what's one thing that you're really happy about it coming up?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm currently working on something. I'm writing a character for DC, a prominent DC character that I've never written before." I'm like, okay, there's actually not that many people I can think of who it could be, given that she's actually worked on quite a bit.
She ain't done Condiment King yet.
No, she has not.
Condiment King is coming. Don't mix the condiments.
Oh, I mean, because whatever book it is has not been solicited yet, so it's possible that it is this sequel to Plastic Man, and it's whoever she's using in that.
Maybe it's like a buddy team up thing where Plastic Man teams up with someone. Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
could be something else. Who knows? But yeah, Doomsday Clock wins.
Yeah, we're boring. What do you want to say? We tried.
Here's the thing about Doomsday Clock, though. I know some people have grown soft on it because of the schedule and whatnot. Every time it comes out, every time there's a week with a Doomsday Clock, I get excited. It's always the first thing I read. It's an event. It feels important whenever I read one.
We get so into it every single time.
Every time. And our episode numbers for the audio especially always spike for Doomsday Clock issues. So you know what? Like,
we're not alone.
We're not alone. That is very true. So with that, though, we will move on to another big category, and that is the best writers of 2018. So one of the things about writers, though, of course, because they can write more books than artists can draw, means that some of these writers have multiple books that we can and not just like because an artist might have had a book for the first half of the year then switched. Some of these writers will have had books the entire year, multiple thereof. So what's the first name that someone wants to throw out there?
Do we want to go heavy hitters, or do you want to build up to the heavy hitters?
Give me a heavy hitter. Just go on.
Well, John's. I mean, not only Doomsday Clock, but we had one issue of Shazam. One issue.
Yeah, I think
was fantastic.
Yeah, Shazam's not eligible for any of the awards except maybe single issue if you want to promote it for that. But because it's only had one issue, but it was very good, and Doomsday Clock's been very good. As the 2 awards we just gave it would display. Yeah. So I can't argue with that. It's a good pick. We'll come back around to him, though. I feel like that'll be more of a debate when we get to the bigger things. Connor, throw out a name.
Tynan.
Yeah.
James Tynan the Fourth.
Yes, I think he's been extremely consistent in between finishing off his detective run, then starting on Justice League Dark, helping out on Justice League at points.
Yeah, I mean, Justice League 13 notwithstanding, that's a
all right.
mark
He had
against him.
one misstep.
Yeah, but like his tech run ended, I think, in like May, so that was like a good chunk of the year. Still, he was doing detective,
and it was double shipping, so we got
a good number of issues. Yeah,
yeah.
And then we have, of course, the first like 5 or whatever of Justice League Dark, but then you also had in the Witching Hour crossover with other things.
Yeah, so that was what was that one shot plus 2 Wonder Womans?
2 1-shots plus 1 Wonder Woman.
All right, other way around.
Aye.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It still adds up to 3 issues.
Sure. No, actually, no. It was 2 1-shots plus 2 Wonder Womans. Actually, there's 4.
Fine, 4 issues.
You correct me about stupid shit all the time. I'm not letting that go.
I never do that.
It's just that he's been consistent, like give or take a couple things here or there, like Justice League 13.
Yeah.
But
I think he's really come into his own as a writer. Yeah, we were praising Detective a lot last year as well.
Yeah.
But I
last
think
2
he's
years
proven
even. I mean,
last 2 years, yeah. But I think now he's proven himself outside of the Bat family for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's really good, and I think he has gotten better since when he first started off and he was doing Talon and things like that. I do think he occasionally gets a bit wordy, which I think is something that comes from Snyder because he's a student of Snyder. Occasionally I'll be like, man, this is a lot of word balloons, man. Calm it.
It's the same sort of thing where you can if you in film music there's composers where you go, yeah, this guy is from Zimmer's school.
Yeah, which I am okay with though, because the more Zimmer music in my movies, the better.
But there are definitely somewhere I'm like, yeah, I can tell.
You can tell.
And it's the same with Tynan. It's like, yeah, I can tell he's from.
What I appreciate about Tynan too is there's these characters he has an affection for, so he's gonna put them on a pedestal. It's like Clayface, in Tech he made us all like Clayface, and now in Justice League Dark it's Man-Bat.
Yeah,
even we're getting to see different versions.
Even Detective Chimp, I feel, is getting a spotlight that he's not had in quite some time. It's good stuff. No, that's a good one. Well, the other obvious name I think no one's mentioned it is Tom King, and Tom King. We have a whole another year of Batman. We have 3 issues of Heroes in Crisis. We have the aforementioned Mr. Miracle, which had more than half of its run this year. It's hard to not mention him. Depending on your taste, though, you could have a problem with several of his Batman arcs. You may not like how he writes things, because there's a lot of people who only like Mr. Miracle, like from him this year, and hate everything else he's done.
I love certain issues of Batman, but I have definitely not been feeling it as much. Basically in the run up to the wedding and afterwards, I've not been feeling it quite as much. It's starting to get back on track with the last couple for me, but it's not anywhere near as much as I loved it last year.
I've genuinely liked it a lot. I think that Ivy arc was the misstep out of the whole thing, and there's been little things here or there, but for the most part, most of his arcs I've really enjoyed. And as much as the arc after the 50s where it led to what's going on with Dick, I don't blame King for that. I'll go on the record as this. I think he wanted to do a plot beat in Batman, and then editorial said, "Oh, let's spin that out into Nightwing and do all this other shit."
Yeah, that is not my problem with King.
Because we got a really good moment out of that.
Yeah, well, because the reason why I'm saying that is I think everything that was in Batman itself, the way he reacted to it, the moment itself, all that stuff I thought was well done, and played very well. So, no, I like King a lot. King's a writer who experiments a lot, and not every experiment leads to gold. Like sometimes it does kind of fall flat. Actually, I mean, the other weakest. It wasn't bad, but the other weaker arc that I would say from Batman this year was probably the run up to the wedding. It was the Booster Gold, the Gift arc. Was a bit weird in places.
But that sowed the seeds for Heroes in Crisis.
So it did, yeah. It kind of set up the Booster Golds a bit unstable.
All of us were not as hot as we had been on Batman on the very latest issue, with the kid.
Sure, yeah.
It was a. I think we all understood what the point was, what King was going for, what his experiment was, but it maybe didn't work on a first reading. Which is
what I'm saying, where he's very experimental, and sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I can respect that, even if I've not been enjoying it as much. I can respect the.
He's willing.
I'm not saying he's thoughtless in what he's doing.
Oh yeah, he's willing to take these weird chances, and sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. He doesn't just stick to the exact same thing, which is kind of nice. But there is an overall sort of tapestry that he's doing with everything that's going on with Bane and everything that's building up to.
Yeah, like I don't feel there's such thing as a King book because he's so experimental. Whereas we know what a John's book is, we know what a Snyder book is now. We know what to expect out of those.
It's true, because if you take Mr. Miracle and then Batman,
or even Vision,
I think
over at Marvel,
I think that's
completely different.
The one thing that connects all of his books is that he really deconstructs the characters, and if not the characters, then deconstructs the mythology around them. And I think that's kind of what he's been doing with Batman. Some of my favorite stuff though came recently was where the stuff with Penguin, where he learns that Bane might be behind this, and him trying to prove it. That stuff was pretty much gold. That issue where he goes into Arkham, I loved that issue. It mirrored like him invading Santa Prisca way back at this, the second arc of the book so well, but it was so different. That was fantastic. And it's great to me that in issue like 55 or 58, whatever that was, that we're making callbacks to issue 9. Like, yes, do it.
Yeah.
Give me that long run gold. So, but that's King. All right, throw it an all name. Come on, Matt.
Josh Williamson. It's no surprise I really like Flash, and he's been a little hit or miss here or there. But lately, I'd say the last,
I think this has been his best year on Flash.
Yeah.
I think
he's not only has he gone back into what makes the Flash so great with the legacy, but he's also forging his own path by the Force Quest.
I think Perfect Storm, which was the Grodd arc before Flash War, and then Flash War itself are my two favorite arcs of his run, and they were back to back. And the stuff since has been pretty solid as well. I'm enjoying what they're doing. He's doing with expanding the forces and things like that. But those two arcs back to back are easily my two favorite arcs of the run. So I think it's worth mentioning because I do think this is the best year we've had on Flash.
Yeah, and then he helped out on No Justice, like Tynan did.
Sure, yeah.
And then he got Odyssey,
He's got a few issues of Odyssey.
Yeah, he got what, 2 or 3?
Yeah. So, and that might all go to hell, and that, I was really looking forward to that because of the team involved. And now that team's not in place, so I might just enjoy his issues. Who knows? But
yeah. If that book's going to go down under, I need my Jessica Cruz book replacement stat.
Here we go. Jessica Cruz, Starfire teaming up in space. Book it.
Oh, get 2 of them. Get those 2, and then I'm trying to think of a third who time travels, so we can call it Sirens of Space Time. This is the show I want. Or the comic book series I want. SOS. Yes. I love that Matt's not seen that episode of Legends of Tomorrow, but he's completely on board anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The idea's too
you
good.
got 2 characters I really enjoy. You got a concept, time travel. I don't know time travel.
Can we get Guardians of the Chronology as well?
That was Custodians of the Chronology.
Custodians. Why did I say Guardians?
Yeah, remember your alliteration. Because it was clearly making fun of Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why I'm thinking of that.
That's why I'm going to it. Yeah.
Oh, Matt, you'd love Legends so much. You need to catch up.
I'm going to get there. I started Sabrina last week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only 2 episodes in. I need to get through that. Once I do that, I'll do Legends.
Are you enjoying Sabrina though? You getting that?
Yeah, 2 in. It's not doing anything that I expected, and I like that. So
Sabrina's fine. Sabrina's good. Legends is better.
Yeah, but really, I thought I was off for Christmas time, and I thought I would get through it quicker than I did, but then I got a PlayStation, so that took up the time that I had done. So I wanted to watch the Sabrina Christmas episode.
Yes.
And I need to watch the series up to that point. So
yeah, it's not a standalone episode. It is just the next episode in the show.
That's what I heard. Yeah. So I don't get there, but I'll get to Legends. I'm all caught up on my superhero shows I want to watch.
That's good. So, that's good.
Yeah.
Caught up with Legends. Okay, so right, you mentioned
another one from Connor.
Well, she was good. Yeah, Connor, you give us a name.
Venditti. Between his, finishing off his run on Harlem Pals and kind of his whole run on Greenland that's been going on for 4 or 5 years.
This is basically the Pete Silent pick because he hasn't read any Venditti this year except for Hawkman 1.
I read issue 2. I read issue 1 and 2.
He read Freedom Fighters last week.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, no, Venditti, when we come back around, I have someone kind of similar to Venditti in that spot that multiple books and they're just consistent. Like they're not the greatest book of the week or the most impactful, but they're good.
Hawkman is maybe one of the most fun books I've read all year.
That
and
last
it's getting better every issue.
Yeah, that last issue really changed things, and to take a character like Hawkman and be able to do your own thing, but by keeping it with what is traditional Hawkman, that's a skill.
The way he's balanced various versions of Hawkman into no, this is a cohesive story, and I'm gonna have fun with it. Damn it, is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
No comment.
and then his Howlin' Pal stuff too. Like again, Connor this year got me reading that book.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. It was up and down, but when it was up, it was a roller coaster ride that I didn't want to get off of. But when it was down, I was like, why am I reading this?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's definitely one of the least consistent writers.
Yeah.
But when he hits, oh man, it's so good.
No comment.
Space Ape, Space Caddy, and Guy Gardner. That's all you need to make me happy.
I'm going to pick one that I know is going to piss off probably half the audience. And that is Bendis, because
I will represent half the audience gladly.
Because I know we get comments. I know some people, hate his writing like Connor does, and that's fine. But if you've been enjoying Superman in action, and then obviously Man of Steel as well, that's been since like May. He's been doing consistent, 2 consistent books, both of which me and Matt have greatly enjoyed all year, since they started. So it's hard not to mention them.
Yeah, they're always in my top 3 when we rank them, and at the end of the episode. So and I feel like I don't want to say it's my Superman bias. I'm just happy to have somebody that's doing a classic Superman, but also pushing him forward. Because that's what I see a lot of especially on Reddit, in the Superman subreddit. There's a lot of people get upset that quote, this isn't Superman. And as someone that has said that with the Snyder version of the character, I want to understand where they're coming from, because I don't see it with Bendis. Because this is very much the Clark that I know, and we get the 2 versions of him. What I like is in action, it's the Daily Planet version, and in Superman, it's the more personal version. And I feel like he's spot on, and it's like, he's not the farmer dad that we had in Rebirth, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I love that Tomasi.
I think the big difference between people who like him and people who don't is I find Bendis' stuff so easy to read. Like I feel like his books flow for me in a way that most writers don't. And but Connor's the opposite. He thinks his dialogue is atrocious and he can't get through it. Whereas to me, it follows on line to line.
But I feel because Connor really loves Morrison, right? Like
yeah.
And and I feel how Connor feels about Bendis, how I feel about Morrison. It's like I like a lot of the concepts, but sometimes reading it, it's tedious.
Yeah, because that's the thing with Bendis. If I hear, he's doing this, this, and this, I virtually never have a problem. There might be a couple of odd choices that I disagree with here or there, but these are the ideas, and the plot beats. I'm usually fine with them. They're usually, if relatively interesting. It's just I can't read his dialogue, which is a real problem.
The only time I had an issue with it was when the issue where Lois came back.
And she kept saying,
was that
baby.
Action?
Yeah, it was Action 1004 or something like that.
It just didn't feel like Lois. It felt like, and if he was going for she's nervous, she doesn't know what to say, and this is a space filler, but it didn't feel like that. And that was the only time I've read Bendis' dialogue where it felt like it was meandering,
It's funny because Pete mentioned the way it flows. And to me, it's just so stilted. It's all just here's a block of text and here's another block of text. Like, it doesn't have a flow for me.
No, it has. Do you know what it is? It kind of captures because some people have the same complaint with Joss Whedon, right? Where they feel that all his characters sound the same, and they kind of do. But I don't have a problem with that when I like the dialogue.
But when you have such clear characters and it's like Avengers where, Cap sounds like Cap in that Avengers movie.
But do you know what it is? It's like people complain that Bendis has all these reactionary comments from side characters and stuff like that. But for me, that flows so well. I just bounce between them because it feels so natural in the scene to me. But it's just, I think it's just an acquired taste thing. I think.
Well, like when Adam Strange wants to call in, Earth is missing.
Yeah.
And he starts spelling it, and it's like that's a moment that shouldn't be funny because Earth is missing. But I feel like Bendis is just where he put it at the end of the issue. I feel it's a nice little tag. So
yeah,
but it's the stuff that he's doing with Superman, where he's giving him Rogolzar, and it's something that he can hit, versus Action Comics, where it's the Invisible Mob, and he can't, like, Superman can't get his head around it. Like, you have the Red Cloud, and he has all the stuff that's afoot, but he can't quite put his finger on it. And it's something that he can't hit. And I just feel it's the perfect balance.
Even just the idea that there's a crime organization in Metropolis who avoid using any words that he would be listening for because he's got super hearing is a really fun idea. Or in Superman, the idea that you've got this guy who hates Kryptonians, so what happens when Zod shows up? And what sort of conflict does that give Clark? Because he's like, he kind of wants Zod to beat him to a pulp. Like, he kind of wants to let him do it, you know, inside. But, he's like, but nah, I'm a hero, I'm the good guy. I can't let him just do that.
Good old Bendy.
Yeah,
like,
Bendy.
I picked that up from Stuart.
I really hate that I don't like him because, it's sad not to be reading Superman right now.
I mean, what do you think? Those plot points that I just mentioned, those concepts, those sound interesting?
Yeah, they sound fine. Yeah. Like they're not. Oh, they don't necessarily get me excited, but I don't have a problem with any of them. And if it was in a book that I had dialogue I like, I'd be really into it. I'm sure. And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm not reading Superman, and that's sad. But Young Justice starts up soon, and I'm devastated that I can't read that. I'm good. Because in fact, I find Bendis even worse on team books.
Connor Kent, Tim Drake, and Bart Allen, and Connor's not reading it.
They will continue to be the lost generation to Connor.
Yes.
They will. Yeah, they're still lost.
Plus, I'm down for this new Teen Green Lantern. That's a fun idea.
Yeah, I didn't like that concept.
I like that concept.
Again, I've expressed my concerns over Connor Kent, but I'm just happy to have him back. So we'll see.
Also, one of the covers, I think it's the Jimenez cover, I want to say, is the meme.
The meme.
Yeah, the looking at the little girl meme. It's just hilarious. I love it. So
I have one more writer I wanted to go through.
That's bad writing me, Matt. Come on, we're going in a circle.
No. You just did it. You just did Bendis.
Oh, you're right. Okay, that was mine. Sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
That's a good point. He makes an excellent point.
It wasn't mine. Yeah, so I wanted to bring up a writer that super up and down on like Venditti, but I think more up, and that's Dan Abnett. And a lot of his Aquaman this year was decent. And a lot of his Titans was decent, but I feel like outside of the tie-ins, it was pretty good. Like his Titans up until the Drowned Earth stuff.
The special, yeah. Basically it got good after the special, I thought. I think I was saying something similar to this last week, but I have to give him credit because I got to the end of the year and went, you know what, I really enjoyed 3 of his books this year. Silencer probably been the best one, actually, once it really got going.
And that's what I said. You guys talking about Silencer all year wore me down enough that I went and I got caught up. And it's not my favorite book every week, but I want to know what's going on with Leviathan. It made me re-interested in Talia, who I always thought was a great, like, underutilized Bat villain.
I think the last few issues of it have legitimately been the best in the book, and then I think Aquaman, outside of the few issues at the end, he had to like doing tie-ins to things and pointless crossovers with Suicide Squad that really didn't matter. It was really solid for the first half of the year.
I think for me, he's a very solid, dependable mid-tier writer. He's and with the right direction can be good, but for me, he would never be in contention for a best of conversation.
That's fair. That's fair. Just the other names I kind of want to throw out there. Obviously, we can't really nominate these people because they haven't done enough to really get kind of warrant it. But the Jodie Houser co-written issues of Supergirl at the start of the year were really good. I want to bring her up because she really elevated that book when she stepped on board. Likewise with G. Willow Wilson, the 3 issues of Wonder Woman, very good. And
obviously Tom Taylor.
Who for one issue and then 2 short stories and anthology books. It's basically all he gets nominated for.
It's happening though. He'll be here by. Hey, if Brian Hill doesn't work out.
Hey, Tom Taylor could write this book. That's the new motto of this show. Could. Hey, Tom Taylor could write this one.
I also want to bring up Marigold Scott because I looked up what she had worked on. The Green Arrow issues were pretty solid.
Yeah.
And then her Batgirl run so far.
Yeah, I've been liking her Batgirl run, and
It's been really good. Yeah.
And we're getting James Gordon Jr. In a couple of months, so
Hell yeah,
that'll be cool.
So.
We've been kind of lucky because Larson was really good, and then
but see, I wanted to put Larson on because I really enjoyed, and then I realized she only wrote Batgirl until March.
Yeah, it was only start of year. I just meant in
so
sense...
then I was like, well, who took over? And I was like, oh, Scott. Scott's been really good.
Yeah. I just meant in the sense that we've been lucky that we had a long run from Larson. Well, not long, but it was a decent run, and then it went into we had like a fill-in issue or two, and then it was on its Scott. And
I feel as in like G. Willow Wilson. Obviously, it's only been like 3 issues, so it's not enough. But hey, ask us next year.
Yeah, no, she could be in the conversation next year for sure. Same with Kelly Sue, because I like that first Aquaman issue. So that's the sort of thing that could become, a year-long thing next year that we could be praising. So, no, a lot of names to mention. I think it's interesting that no one said Scott Snyder. And I don't think it's...
I love the dude.
Yeah.
He's great, but it's been more missed than hit since No Justice. Like, No Justice came through and...
See, I don't
say No Justice, because Justice League was good.
Is one of my favorite books right now.
Yeah.
I just mean...
It's funny, I think he's had a better year this year than he had for a couple. I think...
We had Metal was this year, right?
End of Metal was this year, into No Justice, into Justice League. And I would say that for the most part it's been pretty solid stuff. I don't think I'd nominate him for Best Writer, because he still has the Snydery problems that he occasionally does that I don't like, but... we can't deny that he's kind of the architect of the big events that are going on in the DC universe right now.
Yeah.
Outside of Doomsday Clock and Heroes in Crisis, obviously, but he seems to be the one that's driving the general direction of the universe outside of those books.
He does, yeah. Like Metal into No Justice, and then New Justice really spearheaded a big line of like, this is the direction for a lot of the core characters.
And when I said No Justice, I meant Drowned Earth. I went to Manipul in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Drowned Earth was fine.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Wasn't like
everything else in Justice League's been pretty great.
Yeah, those early issues I really enjoyed. Like when we got to the end of, I forget which issue, it was either 2 or 3, and we had the Life Lantern, the White Lantern symbol, pop up on the Earth.
Honestly, my biggest...
I got so hyped.
My biggest problem with Drowned Earth, honestly, was just how many artists we went through in the space of like 4 issues. Because there was like that one that had 3 artists, and it had those really great Fraser Irving pages, but
but that's not really Snyder's fault, but it drags the book as a whole down.
Yeah, because I thought it was really fun and pulpy. I probably enjoyed Drowned Earth a little bit more than Witching Hour, because they came back to back, which is why I'm comparing them. Yeah, and they were kind of similar in the sense that they were just like 1 month, and they were just the main book plus a couple of tie-ins, but. Yeah, so I think Snyder's solid. I think he's worth to mention in this conversation, but I think that he's just maybe not got a clean slate in the same way that a couple of the others do.
Because I'll sum up his entire year was kind of like Batman Who Laughs, where it's like, yeah, this is going great. Oh, what's that ending?
I mean, I'll tell you this: I'll take Snyder. Snyder for me has been more consistent than King has. He hasn't hit as high highs as King.
I could see that.
Been more consistent.
I do think I prefer King overall. I think I prefer King's batting average than I do Snyder's. But I mean, it's just a taste thing more than anything else.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it? Art is subjective. But there you go. So, and obviously we talk all about art here, meaning the pretty pictures that are drawn, but writing's also art, in the broader sense. So, I guess unless anyone wants to throw out some more names to add to the mix.
Let me see who else was on my list. Nope, I hit all mine.
Yeah.
I didn't think far enough ahead, so sure, I've hit all mine.
I mean, I should probably mention Mark and Draco for Supergirl again as well, actually.
Yeah.
Because again,
Supergirl's been decent.
I've been loving Supergirl. I mean, it's been like what 4 or 5 issues, so
yeah.
Maybe I'm not feeling strongly to argue for him versus some of these other bigger names that have done a lot of big books, but.
Yeah. Who knows? By this time next year, Supergirl could be in the top spots, because they'll have enough issues.
All right, so let's debate then. Who's winning? Who are we feeling is the winner here?
I have a feeling it's going to come down to you two deciding between King and Bendis, because neither of those would get my vote. But those might be the ones you two agree most strongly on.
I don't know. Are we ruling out John's? I mean.
Well, no. I get that, John's. But I figured that the other two have both had more issues than John's.
That's true.
You might have discounted that.
I was gonna say. Yes, I like all three. I get excited for all three's books when I get them in my poll. So
my pick would either be John's or Tynan, personally. So if either of you guys pick John's, then great. If not, I'm just outnumbered.
I think by that logic, John's probably wins because he's the one that all three of us are going to agree on. Because I like Tynan quite a bit.
But this is why I said I know he's not beating out any of the others.
But I'd probably put King above him.
If I have to win place show, it's John's win, King place, and then Bendis show. That's the order I would put him in. Like,
yeah, you'd put Tynan after Bendis, is what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fourth. I guess John's is winning. I think John's is winning because he appeals to all three of us strongly enough that he overcomes in the law of voting, which is fine. It's the democratic way of doing this. It does mean, though, that so far we have picked Doomsday Clock, artist from Doomsday Clock, writer from Doomsday Clock. That's why I'm
laughing.
Right from Doomsday Clock and Shazam.
And Shazam, true. One issue of Shazam was very good, yes.
It matters.
Also, short story in Action 1000, worth mentioning that too.
A great short story in Action 1000.
King, though, King and Man, too.
That's true. That's true.
He did, actually. It was very good.
That's true.
Oh.
I mean, if we're giving a runner-up like we did with the artist, I mean, is there an obvious choice there, given how we've all split up?
Well, it's out of you two, then,
to
decide between King and Ben. I mean, obviously, I would say King over Bendis, because I at least enjoy some of that.
If me and Matt disagree, though, then it becomes like a three-way tie for second place.
Yeah.
So you would have said King was second, is that, Matt? Is that what you said?
Yeah. John's my 1, King's 2, Bendis is my 3.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I think if it was just Batman, maybe not, but I think when you throw in Mr. Miracle, it's like, well...
yeah.
You know, I can't, you know, the deck is stacked, if you will.
Well, and Bendis has only worked on really on Superman. Like, he did those specials with what were they? The Super Size, where he did a Batman story.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
That were Walmart exclusive.
Yeah, but we've not read those. So.
No, but he's really the only one, whereas King's run the gamut, you know.
Yeah. So, all right, there you go. So John's wins, and I feel like such a boring award show because not only is Doomsday Clock sweeping, but we're a DC podcast giving Jeff Johns an award. I mean, like, how blatant can we be?
Hey,
we picked Jeff Johns.
Used to for the first 2 years.
That's true.
No,
that's true. So excellent. Well, that does take us on then to single issues. This is sort of the second last DC award that we'll give out. So just to recap so far, artist Gary Frank got it with Mitch Gerrards in second place. Writers, Jeff Johns got it with Tom King in second place. Notably, that's Mr. Miracle in second place again. Limited series, Doomsday Clock won with Mr. Miracle in second place.
Do you think some issues of Doomsday Clock or Mr. Miracle might show up in this discussion for single issues?
I feel like it's a possibility.
I have a premonition.
A premonition?
Yeah, that Broken Matt Hardy.
Okay, all right. I didn't get that.
Go if you have some time, track down the Broken Universe stuff on YouTube.
Okay.
It is room level entertaining. I mean, it
really?
gets knocked down because you're pretty sure it's intentional.
I assume you mean the Room with Tommy Wiseau and not Room with Brie Larson, because that's what it sounds like.
Because that's two completely different tones.
Yes. Yes. All right. So top single issues, and singles can be hard because there's so many single issues in a year, right? And even some of the fantastic issues that we love, we can't necessarily remember them all by the end of the year. So
I just realized the Super Pets one was last year.
Yeah, so you can't
I
pick
could
that.
have sworn that was this year.
Sorry, Matt.
So there went one of mine.
That's just how much Matt loves it.
Yeah, he's like, no, that's one from last year. Sorry. I think I'll just throw. I don't know if I want to actually pick this for number one. I think it's worth mentioning Action 1000 though, and just in terms of notable issues this year, of course it has to be mentioned because it's Action 1000.
And it was great.
And it was really good.
For the most part, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, compared to some other anthologies, you know, the Christmas special mostly sucked outside that one fantastic Tom Taylor Supergirl story. But
yeah, here's the thing: when it came to Action 1000, DC went, no, we have to hire the best.
Yes, and they did.
Everyone brought their A game.
Yes. There was maybe like one or two murkier ones, but most of it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we loved that Speed and Bullet one. We, obviously loved the King one, the Johns one.
The Tomasi Through Time one.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The Bendis ending, of course, that set up Rogol Zar. So, you had all these things. I love how we can't mention the Bendis part without Connor making a face like,
I know.
I'm gonna be fair though, because when it gets to Detective 1000,
yes,
and it has just, here's a bit at the end setting up the next bit of story for the detective book.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna like that much either.
I don't know. I think that's important. I think you have to have a bit of the ongoing story in the year 1000.
I think if you do an anthology, just do a bloody anthology.
No. You have a main story and then a lot of backups.
Because it's still part of the run, though.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's cohesion.
I mean, if anything, I actually don't think it should be shorter. I think there should still be 20 pages of the main story that's part of the run, and then just a lot of anthology stories afterwards.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
That would annoy me less, because at least then I feel like I'm getting an issue. Whereas this, here's like 4 pages, but you need to have these 4 pages.
Hey, it's 96 pages though. Maybe it is a full issue worth of Tomasi.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Because it is bigger. It is bigger than.
Yeah. That's what those extra 16 pages are. So it's just the main book's getting the full whack.
If it is, I retract that complaint.
Cool.
Right, so who's starting this one?
All right. I'll throw one out. I've not started yet.
Okay.
I'm throwing something out.
Go.
I'm going for the low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
What you're doing is you want to take them away from me because I didn't prepare.
Not high-standing vegetables. You're
Yes.
low-hanging fruit.
So there's a few obvious ones, but I think I'm just going to sneak in here with a recent hit. That is Batman Annual #3 by Tom Taylor and Al Schmidt.
Dick.
Easy money. Easy money. I'm throwing it out there. Easy peasy.
Dick.
Yeah, the Alfred issue. That was pretty good.
Fantastic. Phenomenal. Standalone story. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Emotional. It was everything we want from an Alfred focused story. It was touching.
It was sassy.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
Can't argue against it. Matt, throw one out before Connor gets it.
So Doomsday Clock, issue 7, Johns and Frank.
You bastard. You knew I had that one.
Well, it had the great cover with the lantern on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the first time it stopped feeling just like a Watchmen sequel, and it started to feel like, oh no, this is going to have some reverberations for the DCU.
And you finally got to Manhattan. Because I will say, I think I actually like issue 8 a bit more, so I'd probably nominate issue 8 over issue 7, but I mean, I can see the argument.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like it balanced everything right, where I feel like 8 was the more, all right, I've been doing a lot of Watchmen stuff. 8, I'll do a lot of DC, and that's where it started to feel like a real DC book. But I feel 7 it started to balance right there.
7's the issue I've got at the top of my Doomsday Clock list as well.
Yeah. That's fair. I guess I'm outranked.
6 was good though too. The Miami Marionette stuff was.
Oh yeah, I mean, none of the issues were bad. Like there was not a single issue of Doomsday Clock where I was like, nah, that was poor.
Yeah, the only one that was maybe not as phenomenal as the others was the Rorschach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which I actually
still pretty damn good.
Yeah, which I think is actually great. It's just when we were waiting 2 months between issues, it was like, oh, it was just all focused on a flashback.
This is what I got. Oh, I'm mad. Wait, but it's so good. I don't know how to feel.
When you're reading that in trade, you're not gonna give a shit. You're just gonna be like, yeah, exactly. Part of the story. Exactly. Great. So okay, right. So we mentioned Doomsday Clock, right? Before it gets to Connor, though, I will also. I'm kidding.
I'm not having this.
All right. What issue of Mr. Miracle are you saying?
All right, I'll take a Mr. Miracle issue then, if you're gonna give it to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 11, which was the
I was
real
say that too.
The conclusion, right?
Okay, yeah.
The veggie tray.
That's fair.
And it's fantastic.
I was also going to pick 11 as well if I was picking a Mr. Miracle issue. I love 12. I actually think 12 is a great downbeat issue to kind of wrap it up for what that book actually was about.
It's not 11.
But it's not 11.
No. I mean, we got the veggie tray. We got him yelling F you to Darkseid, or was it Barda yelling F you?
Because if the whole book was about fighting through depression, this was him kind of winning.
Yeah.
This was him finally fighting through it.
Yeah.
So.
And then you get that awesome double page of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Like popping out. That was so cool. It was Gerard getting to draw all these characters. You wanted to see him take on just in one spot. Oh,
that was a great issue.
Yeah.
It made me really think they were turning the kid over to Darkseid too. And when he didn't, I was like, oh hell yeah, fist pump.
Yeah, I will. I'll throw out.
You go recent again?
I don't necessarily want to. Okay, I'm actually like, this is not overriding my last pick. I actually want to mention though that Batman had 2 annuals this year, and everyone loved annual 2 as well, which was the future Selina and Bruce. You know.
Oh yeah, with the Lark art.
Yeah. So
was that this year?
That was this year. They were both this year. That's why annual 3 felt so random, as it was the same year as annual number 2.
Are you sure?
Yeah. We got into this argument: is it still an annual if it's coming out?
Yeah, it was like a month before the wedding issue.
Yeah,
maybe 2.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Now I prefer annual number 3. I think it's the better annual, but annual 2 is very good too. So
it's good.
It feels worth mentioning. Because I was going to be a complete meme and just say Shazam issue 1 because it was really good, but I don't think it necessarily measures up to some of the big issues of the other stuff.
It was a great first issue.
Yeah,
but maybe not.
Which is maybe another category we should talk about, is just best first issue, because there's a few issue ones, and it gives you a chance to like give stuff that just came out recently as well that doesn't have enough to.
Yeah,
you know.
Freedom Fighters. That's super recent. That was a really good first issue.
I mean, Connor might argue for Green Lantern, the Green Lantern kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to jump in ahead of Matt here just briefly, because my next suggestion was actually going to be Justice League number 1.
That was pretty good.
I loved that issue. I thought, the scope of those first few pages was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fantastic issue. It was a great way to kick off a series, and while we're on the topic, feels like I should mention it.
Yeah, in terms of issue 1s, absolutely. No.
Also, I just looked it up. Batman Annual 2, according to DC's website, is on sale date November 29th, 2017.
So maybe it was a special then, and it wasn't.
No, this is the Lee Weeks one with the Bruce.
Okay, well, I'm going to criticize then, because even our patrons nominated this as well. This was not just me.
Huh.
I could have sworn that was closer to the wedding.
The only reason they nominated it is because you mentioned it on the show when we did the Batman Annual 3. And you were like, oh, that was this year. So they all just believed you.
That's very possible.
Fools didn't fact check.
I thought that was like a month or 2 before the wedding issue. I could have sworn it was.
Me too.
Time is a fickle beast.
Time is a flat circle.
Oh, it was like an echo there. I was like, flat circle. It was a circle. Yeah, you circled around and said that again. All right, okay. All right, fair enough. You've disproved it.
So I'm going a little bit more recent. My next pick.
Yes.
And it was it Hawkman 6 or 7, Connor? That
7.
just came out. So Hawkman 7, where we get the timey-wimey, we get the origin of origins.
That was so good.
It's a very, very something I hadn't seen before, which is always good. I mean, the first issue was really great too, because we had him doing Indiana Jones stuff and finding a gigantic rock ape. But I feel like 7 hit home a little bit harder because of
it went an extra level, didn't it? And it was maybe my favorite issue from Venditti that I've read at all.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's Pete's turn again now.
Yeah, no, I'm single issues are so hard compared to everything else. They are really difficult in comparison. Yeah. Superman issue 6 was extremely good.
Yeah. I thought 4 was good too. 4 was the one that led to Zod. Yeah, it ended with him going into the Phantom Zone, right?
No, that was 5, because 6 is when he's there and it's the fight. So 5 and 6 were both fantastic. That's a good point.
Okay. So which one was 4? Was that
clearly not memorable enough?
4 was before that.
No, thanks. Thanks, Connor.
And Pete's stupid comment wasn't.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying because you said earlier that it was before.
I assume 4 was what ended with Superman getting out of the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, or maybe I meant Action Comics 4. I think that was. I can't remember. They're all running together, guys. Don't get old. Don't get old.
I feel like there's an issue of Detective Comics worth nominating. I need to remember what one it is.
Tynan's final issue, I think, was a really nice send off.
Do you know? I don't think it is the final issue for me. I think it's the one before, because the one before is the one where both Steph and Cass get to see their Batgirl timeline.
Yeah,
of course, that's the one he goes for.
I love that.
Well, also when Clayface gets murdered, was that this year?
Yeah, that was this year.
Or was that? Yeah, and Cass yells no.
I think the trial issue of that, her trial, if you will, with the Bat family member was also really good. I don't know if it's necessarily up there with some of the best stuff we've already been talking about, but
no, that final issue hit me mostly probably because of his letter he had at the end and what it meant to write Tim Drake and just what an experience it was to write Detective. And he basically got to write an X-Men book set in the Bat family, and that's always the best way to describe that run. Because there's so many pieces, and they all worked.
Hey, speaking of good annuals, Detective Comics annual was this year. I just checked.
Which one was that?
This is the Clayface one. It was a story of Clayface.
Yeah, that was pretty damn good.
And that was pretty good. I'm pretty sure that came just as he died. So it really hit hard.
It was history of Basil and ended with him making Mudface, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a pretty good one too.
Yeah. I like how you checked though. I
was just double checking after that last kerfuffle. I thought I'll double check.
Yeah.
I was fairly sure because I remember that happened just as he died in Detective this year.
Yeah. You were talking about first issues, and it's not an issue 1, but it is a start of a run. But the Mark Andreyko's first Supergirl was at 20 or 21.
21, yeah.
21, I think.
21.
That was a very solid first issue.
Yeah. That was just her, making the choice to go, and it was just like her with Superman and like him accepting that she was going to go do this and all that stuff. It was like a neat setup for what the book was becoming, which is really good.
That's the last that I have.
I feel like I feel like it's the stuff that's getting lost here in the shuffle. Is like I'm sure Seeley had some good Green Lanterns issues that I might have picked in the first chunk of the year. I'm sure there was maybe other things at the start of the year.
There are a lot harder because my last one that I've got on my list is Justice League Dark issue 3, which was the end of the first arc.
That's when the Upside Down Man properly shows up. Yeah.
Whether I love that issue.
I can see
Which issue was in the Chip Drinks?
That was like 5. It's more
Yeah,
recent, wasn't it?
That was the first half of the arc we just had with the with the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also a very good issue though.
Although they're all running together, so that's why I asked.
Yeah.
They tend to do that. Yeah, and I'm sure someone's screaming at us like, "Oh, you praised this issue in this episode like 6 months ago." And we probably did.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember it.
All I can say is nothing sums up to Wonder Woman issue 8. Like that's still the crown jewel of memorable. Stands out. I still remember it.
Oh, jeez, Matt.
I gotta do it. I can't.
Jeez.
Oh God.
I'm still waiting for you to bring up your running joke, so it's fair.
My running joke? What running joke is that?
No, I'm not gonna say it. No, you don't know it, then I'm not saying it.
Hey! I mentioned Joss Whedon earlier, and I showed restraint.
Yes. Yeah,
I showed restraint.
Joe, I think it's notable that a lot of our picks here have been from the books that have only had one issue a month, because I think even though the book, I'm not saying that they're inherently better than the books that have one issue a month. That's of course not true. They
stand out though,
but they're a bit more memorable because there's only been 12 of those compared to 24 of some of the others.
Now you said that, you just made me think that Flash annual was this year with Wally's story.
Oh yeah. All right, I have a new leader in the clubhouse.
That was a great.
But I didn't
issue.
remember it. So how much? Yeah. That one made me cry though. So.
Yeah, that was him getting his new place. That was him reestablishing himself in the city, and setting up. And it revealed at the end, of course, that the villain behind Flash War was going to be Zoom. That was that issue. That was really great. That was exciting.
I think I've got something that you've all overlooked.
Oh, go on.
Nightwing 50.
No.
You are going to get bitch slapped hard in a minute.
Yeah. Worth it though.
Yeah, Nightwing had some good issues. Though. Before that, Nightwing did have some great issues. I don't know if there's any one that I'd put over the rest of everything else.
I don't think it had the standout. I think it had a really solid run. Percy had a pretty good year. From up until he just left.
That two-part he did with the wacky races in Ireland,
Yeah.
I really liked that.
Great. Yeah.
That was literally the last two issues before 50. It was good.
48 and 49, and then 50 happened, and we burned it down.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I'm actually. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm going to Batman's page in Comixology to look at the issues we've had since the start of this year.
Kind of confirm that annual was last year.
No. I'm just looking to see if any covers like strike my mind and go, yeah, that issue that I wanted, that I should definitely mention.
I'll be honest, at this point, I know my choice. I don't think it would have to be something amazing that we've forgotten that you could suggest now. That I'd be like, oh shit, yeah, that takes the spot. Wait,
was that issue this year? This might change. At least get Matt on board if this was 2018. Yeah. Oh no, it was the 20th of December 2017.
Which one was that?
It was the Batman Double Date.
That was very fantastic.
It was December last year though, so it's just not in. It was the last issue of 2017, so that's why I had to check though. It was so close. It was right on the line. But there you go. Okay, what's your pick, Connor? What you voting for ultimately?
I'm breaking the trend. I'm voting for Batman the habit. Annual 3. Yeah.
I actually, and this is, do you know what I feel bad about here? I feel like it's really fresh, and that gives it an advantage over everything else. Yeah,
but we have praised Doomsday Clock and Mr. Miracle
That's true.
All goddamn show. We are clearly very, they're in our minds. They are memorable.
Let me just make this clear. Tom King wrote one issue in 2 shorts and 2 anthology books, and Tom Taylor, and somehow we're still giving him an award on a DC only podcast. I just want to point that out. That somehow it's happened. Assuming Matt agrees, although it's 2 against 1 now, so it doesn't even matter if he does.
It doesn't matter. That's why I'm gonna burn my vote for the Flash annual. But
do you know what, Matt? Fine. That's in my top 3 for sure. That is in my top 3.
It's a great issue.
It'd be that, and it would be probably Mr. Miracle 11. So that was the first one. When I was making my list last night. Yeah, that's the first one, and then Doomsday Clock 7. So that was my 1, 2, and 3.
I'd have to double check what issue it was. I think it was like 6, 5, 7, something in that range of Mr. Miracle.
All of 6.
6.
I already know which one you're going with. It's 6.
Is this the one where they're crawling and he finds out at the end he's having a baby?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 6. Yes, issue 6 was probably my next favorite Mr. Miracle. But I think my top 3 are probably the Batman Annual number 3, Doomsday Clock 8. And Flash War, and the annual that was Flash War's set up. Yeah. I think those are my 3 favourites.
That Flash annual probably comes in at like 4 or 5 for me, which is still,
Yeah. I mean,
the amount of issues we've read this year.
Yeah, we read, like 300 issues this year? Like,
Something like that.
400 maybe. Yeah.
Someone else can do the maths.
Yes.
That's not my responsibility.
So, there you go. That is our pick for single issue. Which does take us on to the heavy hitter, the main event, and obviously we got a couple of bonuses, and we've got the community picks to do as well. But the heavy hitter, the main event from us, is the top 10 books of the year, and I think longer running short series can be included here, meaning that Doomsday Clock and Mr. Miracle are eligible for this list. But of course, we have a lot of
other things.
Wonder
what's gonna win.
So we know 1 and 2. So let's so it's fighting for 3 through 10.
Well, does it? Is there something else where you take all the issues into account, where as a whole they beat one of those 2?
We did for writer and artist. That was everything all year.
I'm trying to add some excitement to this.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure people are excited to see what number 3 is.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's nominate things, because here's where it gets tricky, right? Because the example I'm going to use here is Detective Comics, where first 5 months of the year it's Tynion's finale to his run, and then you've got a pretty solid on the outside arc, not as good as Tynion's stuff, but solid.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have the
mixed bag,
of Robinson's arc.
Yeah.
Before
then
just
we've had
one issue of Tomasi,
yeah, which you can't judge it on 1 issue.
So that's a really clunky thing to try and nominate into this, because I feel like if you're nominating Detective, you're basically nominating the end of Tynion's run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing to nominate. I'm not saying you can't do it.
But if we nominate Detective Comics,
yes,
is that taking it all into account? Like when we're looking at the placement, do we have to consider everything that under Detective Comics
I think ultimately the other stuff knocks it down compared to other things when it's a fight, because ultimately you have to say, well, the other thing doesn't have this weaker half of the year. You know, it's kind of like, okay, if you love the last 3 issues of Wonder Woman, they're going to have to be goddamn off the charts to raise the rest of the year up. Right? Off the charts.
He reminded you that there was a Jason I disliked more than Todd.
I mean, to be fair, the Witch Now ones were alright.
Okay, 5 issues out of 24.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Shut up. So, you know, I'm just saying keep that in mind. And then, but that's the other thing, you know, we mentioned Batgirl, where we had the last few of Larson, we had a couple of 1 or 2 weaker fill-ins, but then it was like, then Scott's been great since, so it's like, oh, both writers kind of like balance each other out and make it, you know, they're both like stable on either end. Arguably, same with Supergirl, you know, outside of issue 20, the back half of that run with Jodie Hauser co-writing was fantastic, and then everything with Don Draco has been fantastic since. So, you know, really solid stuff.
There's Nightwing, which was pretty good, and then...
And then it wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, that was 2/3 of the year of the good Nightwing for the most part. You know, there was some weak issues mixed in with Percy and like Humphrey's short runs, but they were for the most part pretty good.
Yeah. I still remember Humphrey's run vividly.
Yeah,
like, yes, you know, but I also remember the problems that was in it.
And that's why I remember them vividly.
There was that one really bad flashback issue, but most of the stuff with the Judge was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the art was pretty good on the main issues, so. You know, you've got these things to consider. And then you have the weird things where me and Matt are probably going to be going for Superman in action, but Connor's going to be over there going, because because he's a ginger. And that's how gingers do.
It's what we do.
So, this is where it gets tough. But yeah, so, I mean, I think, you know, I've naturally thrown out some nominations there. I've thrown out Supergirl and Batgirl. I've thrown out Superman in action. Obviously, Detective and Mr. Miracle are there. Batman, I think, deserves to be in the conversation, even if you don't think it's going to be high. I think you're obviously going to mention Justice League. Here's some picks, though, that I think from earlier in the year that you may have forgotten, that because they've been off for a while, but I think deserve to be mentioned, at least in the conversation, if not making the top 10. New Superman in the Justice League of China.
You took it from me, because that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I missed that book so much.
Yeah, that was really good. It was really good. That last arc, introducing the Korean Aquaman, freaking great.
I love how Yang gave us a Justice League that's similar, but done in, you know, whatever Chinese, you know, archetypes there are. So, like, the foreigner from another land, like Stranger in a Strange Land for Aquaman, he's from North Korea, you know? So, but yeah.
Yeah,
so good.
The mythology behind, you know, the Wonder Woman, you know, behind Delay was very, you know, Asian instead, you know, and so on. So really great stuff. Connor, what do you want to throw into the hat?
What has not been mentioned yet? Flash.
Flash is a great pick. Yeah, Flash is like a pick that's never, like, at least right now, would probably never win, but it's always like high B tier of this top 10.
It's probably not going to be top 3.
Absolutely, but it deserves to be on that top 10.
Absolutely,
because it's a solid book. The runs, like we said earlier, it's the best year that it's had since Williamson's been on it.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to say that. I think for, you know, I mean, Carr probably wants to throw in Justice League Dark.
I definitely do.
I
was restraining myself a little bit though.
Yeah, you're restraining yourself.
I won't go straight in with that.
What about Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps? Would you want to argue for that? No.
I think
if I was arguing for Venditti,
it's a little too inconsistent, Hal Jordan.
Yeah, if I'm arguing Venditti, I'm arguing Hawkman.
Hawkman, definitely. I think Hawkman is in contention for me.
Interesting.
I think it sits outside my top 10. I think it's on the bubble.
I'm currently kind of going through and looking, because obviously I didn't do any of this prep, so I have not figured that out yet. But it's at least in my mind, it's in contention. For the lower end, naturally, but it's there.
I have to make a list here so I can organise them as we're talking, actually. I just realised I can't just remember all our things.
No.
as we go.
Yeah.
So
I think
we start at 1.
something that we've kind of overlooked is Green Arrow.
Yeah, the first chunk of that this year, and even the Benson stuff was fun. Couple of dodgy villains.
Yeah, but I'd still keep that out of my top 10. Like, it was so good.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff that we've mentioned before that, you know, I wouldn't put Green Arrow above Hawkman, and even though it's had more issues. And
yeah, I wouldn't either, to be fair.
You know,
I'm just noting down the ones that are being brought up.
How are we feeling about Aquaman? Barring those couple issues.
Yeah, I mean,
at the end.
Maybe in the top 10. I feel like that would be a strong 10.
It may be now, because I feel like, admittedly, I think Abnett's strongest stuff was when he was with Cedric, but the stuff after that, we're taking down Wrath, all that big final fight stuff. So that was really good. That was
this year. If we're looking at the bad issues, it was the Wrath flashback.
Yeah, that one.
Was probably
that was like that one fill-in issue.
Of the year. And then the Suicide Squad crossover, which, you know, is fine. It wasn't great,
and the tie-ins to Drowned Earth. So, in terms of what you're saying is good here, you're saying the main issues outside of that Wrath one for the first, like, what, 7-8 months of the year?
Yeah.
And then Kelly Sue's first issue that we just had.
Yeah.
Which was really good.
Yeah,
we all seem to like that.
I'd be willing to nominate that for the 10 spot. Easy.
I feel like it's easier to work from the top and work our way down.
Okay.
Because things will get knocked out. Whereas, you know, you put that at 10, then we start adding more in. It's like, oh, then that gets bumped because now we have more than 10. But no, it's on the list.
We're really only doing 7 because we know what 1 and 2 are. You know? So
that's
3.
That's 8 to do, Matt.
Right. Yes.
Whatever.
Right. So Doomsday Clock's number 1. We're agreeing with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Doomsday Clock's number 1. Mr. Miracle is number 2.
Yeah.
Boring, but boring for a reason.
And if we're adding, so for 3, if we're gonna throw in the annual into Batman,
it's part of that series, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel with how strong that was, how strong the Mr. Freeze arc was, and some of the other stuff. I feel like I'd be okay with putting Batman at 3.
I think for sure it's top 5. I think we'd have to talk about the others before I'm convinced that that's
what
number
else
3.
Are you guys looking at in the 3 to 5 range? Because for me, it's definitely not. But I mean, I'm willing to pick my battles here.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny though?
I mean, I would love to put a Superman book there, but I don't know which one.
What's funny is I think Supergirl, Superman in Action are all stuff that I want in the top 10.
Yeah. Me too.
But Connor doesn't read any of those, which means they're all kind of by default maybe in the 6 to 10 range, as opposed to 3,
but he
4,
said
5.
he's willing to make concessions, because I'm also willing to make concessions.
Is he conceding that number 3 though? That's a high number to concede.
3's a bit too high for me to concede. I might give you like 5.
I think if it's something all 3 of us read and love, I think number 3 is actually probably going to end up being between the Flash or Batgirl. That's my guess, just looking at this list.
Personally, I think I'd go with Batgirl.
I think I'd go with Flash. That's like Peter's been saying. It's been
yeah, okay.
Because he's like, it's been good enough that it's not at the top, and I feel like it has come in number 3 numerous times.
I think here's why for me, Batgirl goes above Flash. The art on Flash has been too inconsistent.
Okay.
And Batgirl has had some. See, we didn't really mention any of the art in in the best artists, but you had a Wild Goose at the start of the year with
that was great.
With Larson, and now you got Paul Pelletier, with all the new stuff now. I think it's been really consistently great.
Actually, on that point, I would say it has been more consistent, but it's not reached the same heights I think as Flash has.
That's fair.
At various points.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because when Flash has one of the Flash artists, so when it has Collins or it has Porter, which isn't necessarily to Connor's taste all the time.
Yeah, I understand where you're going with this.
Like I think when Flash has one of those artists, I'm like, yes, Flash looks exactly how I want a Flash book to look. But there are times, like right now with Segovia, where I like Segovia well enough, but his Flash is a bit bulky.
Not on a Flash book, yeah.
It's a bit weird looking. That's fair. That's fair.
I'm flexible with either of those 2 spots. So
I think it comes down to them. Pete gets to pick the tiebreak here.
Okay, I tie break between Flash and Batgirl.
Jeez, I wonder who he's going to go with.
I'm going to pick Flash, and the reason why I'm picking Flash is because the heights it reached this year raised the book entirely. Whereas Batgirl, I think, is just as solid as it was in 2017, which is a good thing.
John, it's really funny.
Yeah.
Is when I threw Flash into this, I said, I don't think it's a top 3 book. And individually, I don't think any of us have it in the top 3.
But if we're going democratic and picking what works for all of us, I think Flash does become number 3.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Or number 4, versus Batman. Because Batman's number 3, right? Yeah. Did we pick Batman?
Well, no. You said you didn't want to.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so
up and compared.
So now we can play Flash to Batman then.
Yeah.
That's what's fighting, and then Batgirl is by default after those two. So Flash versus Batman. How are you feeling?
So you feel like the art's better with Batman, but I feel like the story on Williamson's part is more consistent.
Yeah, I think there's almost not a debate that Batman typically has better art.
Yeah.
I think Tom King has blackmail material.
Yeah, he does.
Everyone.
He's got a folder. He's got like one of those folders.
This is from his CIA days.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's done intel.
He's got intel on all the artists, so he's got them all blackmailed. Yeah.
Tom King's watching us right now.
I mean, yeah. Everyone. I mean, all the creators could watch us, but Tom King's the only one who's watching us live because he can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi Tom, big fan, buddy.
Yeah, hey Tom. Welcome to the show. You're welcome to guest anytime you want. We'll debate the wonders as DC Comics. But do you think the consistency of Flash as a story, as the writing, outweighs the highs and lows of King's Batman?
I do, but I'm also closer to Flash than I am to Batman, so I'm biased. So
I happen to agree that Flash has been so consistent that it's even though, like, you know, I've been up and down on Batman, and there are issues of Batman that I absolutely say are better than Flash.
Yeah, I
not overall.
This is interesting. Yeah, I think I'm willing to go with you two on this. I don't know. I think gun to my head, I don't know what I'm picking. But given that you two are weighing towards Flash, it's easy for me to just say, well, sure.
You don't have to.
I don't have to. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have to. I can just fine. It's 2 out of 3 already. I can just go with it. Which is interesting because obviously King won Best Writer, but he has Mr. Miracle at number 2, so that makes sense that he has 2 and 4, which outweighs just number 3. So.
Yeah.
Or second best. He was runner up. Yeah.
John's won.
Yes, quite right, Matt. Quite right. He won last year. Yes. King won last year.
That's right. Well earned last year, though.
Right. Okay. So
that means Batgirl's at 5.
Yeah.
Right?
So by that logic, Flash is at number 3, Batman's at 4, and then where's my Batgirl on this list? It's down there. Batgirl becomes number 5.
This is where I'm willing to concede the super book of your choice, at least for the first. I'm not necessarily giving you all 3, but
well, here's the thing though. I think Superman, Supergirl in action are 3 of the books I want in this book. This next half, I love all those 3 of those books.
I'm willing to lose one of them, and one of them's a Superman book.
I like all 3 of those books right now more than Justice League.
Yep.
I like all 3 of those books more than I've liked Aquaman, even though I've liked both those books. This is me not shitting on those books, but I like all 3 of those books. I'm fighting for all 3 of them. So
I'm willing to put Supergirl above either of the Superman books.
As would I actually. I actually think I like Supergirl the most, surprisingly.
Yeah. So I'm willing to put that have that come in at 6, and then basically whatever Pete won. I mean, we all know I like Action Comics a little bit more than Superman. But I feel like me and Pete split on that one.
I think I would have said Action was the better one for the first 3 or 4. But I think the last 2 Superman issues might be 2 of the best issues that Bendis has done as a Superman writer. So I think it's a bit harder to decide at that point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because everything that that issue that ended with Zod, and then the actual fight where it was just all those 2-page spreads, those were phenomenal. But Action has more of that interaction between all the characters that make Bendis what Bendis is, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Which one would upset Connor more? And I think it would be Action. You said it makes Bendis.
Yeah, that's true. That would upset Connor more. I suppose if I'm being diplomatic about it, Action has more of the better issues, even though I think Superman 5 and 6 are 2 of the best issues that Bendis has done.
Yeah.
So I will concur that Action comes. If we can't get all 3, I will I will
Right.
concede that
Action
Superman.
goes before Superman.
Yeah, Superman's the one that gets booted off if we can't get all three.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so obviously the next thing I want to push for is Justice League.
All right,
Okay.
so we got Supergirl at number 6. Then you're pushing for Justice League
Right.
next.
I am, yes.
Right. Okay. You've got Justice League at number 7 then, unless we want to dispute it.
See, I don't know if I like it more than Action. I know there's been less issues, but I feel like I like Justice League, but I just feel it's more hit or miss than I would have liked Justice League to be.
Here's where I'm going to make things complicated. I want to put Detective above Justice League.
Oh boy, he has made a Gordian knot. The only way to get it is to cut it.
Because in terms of the amount of issues, it's very comparable to what Tynion did in Detective.
It is, yeah.
And I think that the end of Tynion's Detective run means more. And Justice League's been a lot of fun. Like I am okay with Justice League being next, but I want to argue for Detective being over it.
All right.
All cars conceded. Okay, that was easy.
I said I'm picking my battles here.
Yeah, okay.
So,
all right.
So then
okay.
we got Supergirl, Tech,
and Justice League. All right.
Justice League.
Unless we want to argue Action, but Action could go at 9.
Yeah, I'm fine with Action at 9.
Let's go with Action at 9. Okay.
Right. And so the 10 spot.
The 10 spot could be Aquaman, as Matt tried to shoehorn in.
Yeah.
Can I just throw in one more that we didn't really mention earlier, but might actually kind of upset things a little here?
Go on.
No.
Terrifics.
Terrifics is some. I think Terrifics is the one that I'd maybe argue with Aquaman at number 10.
Because for me at this point, it's down to Terrifics, Aquaman, obviously Justice League Dark. I'm not pushing for it, and then kind of Green Arrow.
I actually want to throw another one in here for the fighting for the 10. Sake. I want to kind of throw in the Silencer.
If we have to have a New Age of Heroes representation, I'd much rather have Silencer than Terrifics. I feel Silencer's been more consistent in the storytelling. Despite the JRJR art.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I would actually say I think Terrifics is more consistent, but I think it's been solid and fun the entire time. I think Silencer has gotten better as it's went on.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I enjoy the story in Silencer more.
Yeah. Those last couple issues, everything with Action Land, and then that final page of that last issue where like Silencer finally, she's the one in the room who's standing up against Talia. It's like, this feels kind of big. This feels like a big deal.
So, Silencer or Aquaman?
That's kind of what we're fighting for.
Because now it's Abnett. It's Abnett versus himself.
That's true.
And all.
That's true. Well, it's Abnett tag teaming with the Conic. He's got a tag team partner.
And see, Connor, and this is why I mentioned him on the best writers, because now he's fighting to get into the top 10.
I mean, are you guys not wanting to argue for Hawkman to take this spot?
No, because I would love it to go, but I think it is down to Aquaman and Silencer.
Yeah, here's the thing. Personally, for me, like, Hawkman and Justice League Dark are above both of these books.
Cool. Yeah.
Which is why, like, to me, Abnett isn't a top 10, right? In the same way that I said Flash wasn't a top 3 book.
Yeah.
Personally, but coming together like this, but in this process.
Yeah, I think likewise, like New Superman, Justice League of China, I'd probably put above a couple of these. I'd probably put it at least up to above Justice League, maybe not above Detective. Just thinking of Tynion's Detective. By the way, Tynion put a comment on his Twitter about people pronouncing his name wrong, and I felt called out. I was upset by it.
He's been listening.
Tynion. Let's just call him James the Fourth. I've mentioned this a couple times.
James the Fourth. I like James the Fourth.
Because that's his name. That's his name on Twitter. So.
Motion passed.
Yes, motion carried. So, is carried after passed? I think it is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to meetings.
You say that as if the meetings you actually went to actually had motions carried and passed.
They have. They don't impact me, so I tune out.
Oh man. Either you're in law when you hear those things, or your workplace is very pretentious and thinks it's more important than it is. That's my argument there.
Yeah. It's
one of those two things.
At least we just did it as a kind of a joke.
Oh, it was a joke. Yeah. But if you're working at like a bakery and like the owner makes you say motion carried, motion passed in your staff meetings, then he's just a pretentious douchebag.
Yeah.
No, Danishes.
I thought a bear claw would be more your speed, Matt.
I like it, but sometimes if you get the almond filling, sometimes it depends on who's making it, and you get a bad one.
I just thought pastry plus
nice.
bear would be your ideal thing.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy a bear claw from time to time.
Firefly. You're digging it in my leg, cat. Come on.
So where are we coming down on this?
All right, so as it's well, we haven't really picked what number 10 should be out of the two.
Yeah.
Silencer.
That's what I meant.
Or Aquaman. So Aquaman had some dips, but it had some highs, and it's often a good footing for the new year with a new writer. Which is always nice, because it's always a nice... one of the things I'm going to mention with a Marvel book actually coming up, it's always nice when a run that ends with a writer leads into a new writer, and it's like, oh, this is... I was worried that there'd be like such a difference that I wouldn't like the new thing, but it's not missed a beat. If anything, it's better. And that's a nice feeling.
Yeah. Although the other one's not better, because who they're following, it's not better. The Marvel book you're insinuating.
Oh, well, we'll get to that. We'll talk about that.
I know what book you're on about.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know the writer that was on it before. No, you don't follow them, and it's better.
I never said it was better.
You just implied that. I mean, you were relating to Aquaman here, but
oh yeah, I was saying with Aquaman, I think the comic's probably going to be better overall once she gets going. That was my point.
Which is maybe a reason that maybe we should give it a Silencer, because Aquaman's probably going to take over Silencer next year.
Yeah, because Abnett's on his own has gotten better on Silencer.
Yeah.
I also feel that the fact that you guys could get me to read Silencer just by hearing what was going on, I feel that speaks for itself. And I kept with it. Like, I could have quit after the first arc. I was like,
if Aquaman had Sejic on art this year,
sure.
Conversation.
I think
big time.
Yeah, and obviously if Federici, who was on Aquaman, was really good at that first chunk as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, and we're impressed with Roca with the coloring, with the new colorist on the comics issue. But I like the idea of giving it to Silencer because it feels like an underdog pick because it isn't like one of the big names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like out of all the new age concepts, that one's gonna stick because we've already seen her pop up in Percy's Nightwing.
Yeah, sure.
She popped up on Arrow.
Right, so I'm going to read these off. Actually, I think she's already in a TV show. You're right. She's already jumped mediums.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read these off, and we can still wiggle with this a little bit if we feel that something's not quite right here. But here's how it stands right now. Number 10 is a Silencer. Number 9 is Action Comics. Number 8 is Justice League. Number 7 is Detective Comics. Number 6 is Supergirl. Number 5 is Batgirl. Number 4 is Batman. Number 3 is The Flash. Number 2 is Mr. Miracle. And number 1 is Doomsday Clock. Is there anything there that feels like, oh no, we should swap those two, or that thing should not be above that thing?
No, I'm okay with all that.
I think this is as reasonable as we're going to get, where we all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just have to laugh though, because next year's another Bendis book in contention. I mean, technically two if Naomi ends up being really good.
I could swap Supergirl and Batgirl, but Connor doesn't read Supergirl.
Yeah,
so
I could as well.
You kind of want the top 5 to be stuff we all read.
Yeah.
Like...
I probably could as well, but I love both books. I love both characters, which is nice that all these characters that I like are getting good books.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Flash fan, so the fact that Flash can come in at number 3, that's the battle that I'm willing to go with.
Which is the other thing as well about Silencer that's really nice, is that that's a completely new character that a book has made me love this year. Which is, something that the other books can't really claim to. I mean, outside of maybe like Mame and Marionette, but maybe I like those sort of thing.
When they described it when it was getting ready to come out, they called it kind of John Wick meets superheroes.
Yeah.
And it kind of has delivered on that, right? Like, it's not really revenge, but it's like, I'm setting this right because I want to have a life with my family. And I think it's doing it all right. Like, if DC announced a Silencer movie in that vein, like kind of like Sony did with Venom, where it's like it's tangentially related, I would be there day one, I think, just because that concept is really cool. So...
I'll tell you what I'm wondering. I'm wondering what mini or series we have somehow not mentioned that someone at home is like, how have you not mentioned that book?
It's bound to be one.
Throughout this entire episode.
Wasn't Brave and the Bold most of this year?
That was all this year.
shit.
Yeah. So there, that
Those
goes.
are all the mini. Yeah, it's those 8 minis, Connor.
I thought that was last year. God damn it! I'd have had Sharp in my artist.
Sharp, I don't think Sharp was ever winning art because I was
artist. No, not winning, but I'd have had it push because his work on Brave and the Bold was phenomenal.
But I guess the quick thing just to solve this right now, would it have beat Doomsday Clock? I wouldn't have voted for it. I'll tell you that.
No, it wouldn't.
I don't think it would have. As much as I enjoyed that book, I don't think it would have beat Silencer. You know.
Well, I don't know if that was eligible for the top series anyway.
No.
Everything's eligible for top series.
Okay, sure, everything's eligible, sure. But you know, I don't know if I'd put Plastic Man on here. I don't know if I'd put. I would definitely. I mean, I quit Brave and the Bold, so I definitely wouldn't put that on here.
I mean, Plastic Man would maybe make my personal top 10, maybe, but I wouldn't push for it on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have the community picks. This is like, we had patrons vote. Everyone, this is not just the $5, this is the $1 tier and up. Any patrons can vote on this if you're a patron. And we'll do this again next year, and you can vote on what you want for the end of year award. You can nominate different things. And it works in a point system. Basically, your number one pick. For the top books, you could do top 5 up to top 10. The rest of them, it's all top 3s. Your number 1 gets X points, number 2 gets next set amount of points, and so on. And then, also, full disclosure, we also all inserted our own personal lists into this to make it like a well-rounded thing. Because obviously we all compromised on our show's top 10. Yeah. So this was our way of like putting our personal top 10s into the mix and getting a results out of it. There's a sort of bit more democratic in voting. So here we go. So we'll start. I'll just start at the bottom of my list here with top artists. So here's what won. I'll give you the top 5 as it turned out with the voting. Coming in at number 5 was Francis Manapul. Who did do some No Justice, and obviously
he did
some Justice League issue as well.
He did some Justice League.
Yeah.
I think everything he's done has been spectacular.
Yeah,
just hasn't been enough of it for me.
Right, it's like the Lupacino effect, you know.
Yeah.
At least enough for at least a couple of people, but yeah. Number 4 is Lee Weeks. Solid choice. Obviously, he's Batman stuff. Yeah, he's Batman stuff more than anything, I think. That said, there's a giant gap between 4 and 3. The top 3 are like we're always going to be the top 3.
Yeah.
So number 3 is Clayman.
I feel like I know where this is going.
With a hefty amount of points compared to the previous. Number 2 is Mitch Gerrards.
Mm.
No prize money for guessing number 1.
And number 1 is Gary Frank. It is worth mentioning that
well done.
That Gerrards was winning before we put in our personal lists, and we actually flipped number 1 and 2 on this one.
We swung it.
It wasn't. I mean, it was pretty close. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, we didn't completely alter it, but like there you go. So that was the top artists of the year as voted for by everyone, including us and you. It is a combined list. Top writers. So again, I'll give you a top 5. Number 5 was Joshua Williamson.
Okay.
You know, pretty respectable.
Sure.
Obviously, we talked a lot about that in his Flash stuff. Also, a dabbling of Odyssey. Number 4 is Bendis. So at least some people.
Bendis is coming.
I will take 4 because it was going to be on here.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'll accept 4.
That's fine. Number 3 was James Tynion the 4th. Which was he's got twice as many points as Bendis. If that makes you feel good, Connor.
It does make me feel very good because he is more than twice as good.
But then it's a bit of a leap to the next one as well. Not quite double, but it's another bit of a leap to number 2, which is Jeff Johns.
Oh,
couldn't swing this one.
So winning, well, not super narrow, but not like super big either. Tom King is the number 1 writer as per the vote. That's fair, though. So that's fair. So Tom King takes the community vote. And then we got single issues. This is a weird one because obviously people. But what's funny about this is I was worried that single issues, like everyone who voted would pick 3 completely different issues, and we'd end up with a big list of issues where they all have a small amount of points. Bizarrely, though, there was 3 issues that kind of stuck out amongst most people. Right? There was a couple of other examples. Don't get me wrong, there absolutely was. But if you're going doing top 5. Doomsday Clock issue 8 comes in at number 5. Which admittedly I swayed that by putting that on myself.
Yeah.
But I swayed that to get on the top 5. It was actually going to be an issue, Shazam issue 1 that would have been there otherwise. But me voting for that.
Single issue, that's fine.
But number 4, these are all ones we talked about from here on out. Number 4 is the Flash Annual. Number 1, Start of Flash War. Number 3 is the Batman Annual. Number 3.
Oh.
Yeah, so the one that
Criminal.
Yeah, the one that we decided was number 1 only came out at number 3, even with us all
Patrons,
voting.
you're awful.
Number 2 was Mr. Miracle, number 11. And it's worth mentioning these top 3 are very close, by the way. There's not a lot in them.
All right, you're not completely awful.
Yeah, and then number 1 is Doomsday Clock, number 7. So we get 2 Doomsday Clocks on that top 5. So quite impressive. So Doomsday Clock 7.
Is this after you took out Batman Annual 2 because you realised it was last year?
Maybe. It wasn't it wasn't in the top 3.
Okay.
It wasn't even in the top 4. It might have had number 5 if I hadn't taken it out, but you know, obviously it's disqualified for reasons of time.
Yeah.
For reasons of not being 2018.
It's ineligible.
Yes. So then top limited / event series. Number 5. Actually, number 5 is a 3-way tie.
Ooh.
3-way tie between Batman White Knight, Batman Damned, and Brave and the Bold. Batman and Wonder Woman.
All Batmans.
Yeah, the 3-way tie there. Number 4 is Man of Steel. Number 3 is Plastic Man. And then there's a giant leap in points to number 2, which is Mr. Miracle.
Oh, dear.
And number 1, which was a bit more divisive here, although they both got a lot of points, and that is Doomsday Clock, was number 1 in the limited
Patrons,
series.
you did not let me down.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
So that's pretty funny. So then that's like the big thing. So we'll do a whole top 10 here for top 10 series, again, as voted by our patrons and ourselves. Number 10 is Action Comics.
Ooh.
Number 9 is Batgirl.
Yeah.
Number 8 is Justice League.
Right, come on, Justice League Dark. Take it.
I swear, if you think you're gonna do a troll, Pete, I will throw something.
How dare you? How dare you? Number 7 is Supergirl.
Okay.
Number 6.
Our good taste.
Yeah, is Superman.
Yeah.
So I mean, all 3 supers were in the bottom half, but all 3 of them are there.
Notably, you know, that was our kind of thing. Well, it has to be 6 or lower, right, in our list.
Number 5 is Detective Comics.
Okay.
Number 4 is The Flash.
I get a feeling these patrons are dead to me.
Number 3 is Justice League Dark.
Is it actually, or are you just saying that?
I'm just trolling you now. Number 3 is Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
Usually he saves the troll for 2.
Well, no, it's because we know what 1 is.
Yeah, that's true.
And 2 and 3 can only be 2 other things.
Yes. Number 2 is Electric Warriors. I'm kidding.
You should have said Red Hood Outlaw.
Oh, I should have said Red Hood Outlaw. Yeah.
Or Nightwing.
Well, Nightwing had some good stuff in the first half of the year, though. So
it
would
did.
have made sense.
Yeah.
No, but not enough. Not good enough to top.
Yeah, Red Hood. Red Hood and the Curse of Brimstone. I don't know who Connor paid off to get those this high, but those are number 1 and 2. No, so number 3 is Mr. Miracle, and number 2 is Doomsday Clock. So by a hair, and here's the funny part of this. Up until Matt, because Matt was the last one to put in his picks, right? That was given the final points. Matt broke a tie between Batman and Doomsday Clock. They were tied until... Actually, no, technically they weren't tied. Technically, Matt having Doomsday Clock at number 1 tied them, and then having Batman, which was number 9 on his list, then give Batman a couple of points to put it above Doomsday Clock.
It's all your fault, Matt.
Matt and the patrons are why Doomsday Clock is number 1, because all three of
Connor,
us...
I still have my honor. So
he didn't lie. He could have said, you know what, I'm going to leave off Batman just so it doesn't win. But he didn't do that because he knew that was his real number 9. So that's fine. So just to reiterate that quickly, number 10 was Action Comics, 9 was Batgirl, 8 was Justice League, 7 was Supergirl, 6 was Superman, Detective Comics was number 5, 4 was The Flash, 3 was Mr. Miracle, 2 was Doomsday Clock, and 1 was Batman. Just to give you a spattering of everything else that had points, in no particular order. Terrifics, Aquaman, Justice League Dark, Hawkman, Wildstorm, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, The Silencer, New Superman, the Justice League of China, and Plastic Man. Those were all the other ones with points.
So what was on the patron list that wasn't on ours? Because we had Silencer.
Wildstorm was definitely one of theirs.
No. I mean in the top 10.
Oh, in the top 10?
Well, they had
Aquaman,
Action, or Superman, whichever one you didn't pick.
Oh, that's right, because they both didn't make it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So Superman.
You mean versus our top 10?
Yeah.
It's Superman.
Oh, okay. It's Superman. Yeah, you're right. It's Superman. Otherwise, a lot of the same books. Different order a little bit. But, yeah.
Pretty close, though. I mean, Action, we had it, 9? They had it 10?
Yeah, something like that. Basically, it's a sign that when people listening to us have, at least to an extent,
similar taste overall. Yeah.
It makes sense. At least
although they didn't have Justice League Dark in there, so what do they know?
How did we? So
I did.
I like Justice League Dark. It's not as good as some of the other things that I like.
You're wrong.
I'm right. To wrap up DC before we get to the bonus bits, I want to just bring up a couple of discussion points about DC for the year. I don't want to do any rankings for any of this sort of stuff, but I know what the answer to this is going to be. But I want to have a topic about maybe the missteps of 2018. And I think the obvious big one is going to be Nightwing. It's Nightwing 50. It's the amnesia.
If there's a misstep where you kind of drag your feet and stumble, Nightwing is where you fell down 4 flights of stairs.
Can a bullet to the head be called a misstep? It's more of an execution.
I mean, if the shooter misstepped and that's why he hit that target, sure.
Yeah.
That's a misstep.
Yeah. So Wonder Woman for most of the year was a misstep.
Yeah, that was a misstep that started in 2017, though. So I mean,
it did, but it took them far too long to fix it.
I think for a lot of people, the wedding, the actual wedding not happening, is a misstep.
I agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Not necessarily not happening for narrative reasons, but the way DC treated it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't have a problem with them not marrying in the story. My problem is how they marketed it and how they built it up as the wedding and had all those stupid one-shots. Even though a couple of them are quite good, afterwards they felt really weird.
Most of them were not.
Yeah. Afterwards it was like, wait, none of these make any sense given how they chose to get married in the book.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Even down to months later, DC releasing the wedding album.
Yeah.
Hardcover collection. Obviously,
what?
retailers had ordered before the wedding happened.
And then they were lumped with all these copies that no one wanted to buy because no wedding actually happened.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's not much of a celebration thing now, is it? It's like just this random collection of issues.
Yeah, that's a misstep. I feel...
Do you know, I've got a misstep.
Go on.
Editorial. In the sense of we had some problems with Odyssey, whatever happened there.
Couple of delays, Outsiders.
Outsiders, whatever's going on there. There's clearly something going on behind the scenes where there's some conflict.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I do want to kind of do a hits of the year as well, kind of like the successes of the year. This is, I mean, obviously there's a negative side to this where we've had a couple of sexual harassers kind of behind the scenes, accused or otherwise. But I kind of want to give a little bit of the success column because this felt like the year they finally did something about it. And the most recent one was dealt with very quickly, which was a big difference to the previous examples.
Yeah, it's a negative in the sense that you lose the book if you're really enjoying that book.
But that does not outweigh
no, absolutely not, because
the responsibility here to deal with it.
Of course not, because the most recent one, I was enjoying what I'd read at Bordertown. When I didn't know any better, right? I was enjoying it. It was well written. It looked good. And then, but it is absolutely a positive that it was canned.
Yeah, it's a positive that it was dealt with so quickly because Eddie Bergazia, whatever his name was,
Berganza.
Yeah, that went on for a long time with them doing nothing, and it took a long ass time. Yep. So it's nice that there's a change. It's kind of a weird compliment because it's like, well, it shouldn't have taken that long ever, but at least it's changed. At least progress has been made.
It's better than it was.
Yes.
That is a fact. It
shouldn't be cheered with trumpets because it should have always been better than this, but the fact that it's progressed is a positive. So, so that's good. That's a positive outside of the stories themselves. Per se. I will say it was kind of nice how we had a lot of big things happening. It felt like you can kind of look at the year and go, okay, end of Metal into No Justice into the new Justice League books. Doomsday Clock's still going. By contrast, it feels like getting into this year, there's not like the big roadmap for events in the same way there was getting into this year, which is fine. It's not a bad thing, but there was definitely a shape to the year.
We know we've got the crisis going on.
That's true. Yeah,
and then we've got King said around, I think it was Batman 75 is starting an event.
Yeah, that's true. He did say that. And obviously we have smaller things like the Sixth Dimension, which is not an event per se, but it feels like a big Justice League story.
What I'm hoping for is along the lines of Witching Hour and Drowned Earth. Maybe, ideally, they'll be a little bit better quality than those ultimately ended up being. But the idea of here's a 1 month event that kind of, because we kind of had it with Suicide Squad versus Justice League, which was 6 weeks. Here you go.
I feel that was the test case.
Yeah,
I feel
I like that format.
No, that was good because it felt quick. It felt like it wasn't dragging all the books, and it didn't have a lot of tie-ins. It wasn't pulling all these books into it. There was like
just the relevant ones.
I think there was like 1 or 2 issues of Justice League that were tie-ins, and that was it. That was the extent of it during that event.
Yep.
No, I like that. I mean, this is kind of morphed into also what we're looking forward to in 2019, which is also something worth talking about in your end of year wrap-up.
Tom Taylor taking over everything, obviously.
Tom Taylor writing some more DC books is obviously what I'm looking forward to. Obviously, 2 of us are looking forward to Young Justice because we're right in the brink of that, starting in January.
Also, Superman Leviathan, whatever that ends up being. Very excited for that.
Bendis has got a secret event project as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
Just for the record, he's writing something top secret that he. I think what he said on Twitter is it's going to make us lose our minds. I think that's what he said, something to that effect.
Bendis spearheading the events was my biggest fear.
Yeah, but he's not. This is the first one. This might be his only one. He might not want to write events anymore, but this was his good idea. I'm excited to see where Heroes in Crisis goes because, as we've talked, it really only feels that Roy is the casualty.
Yeah, Joe is super. I mean, with the exception, actually, there's a book coming up that acknowledges Wally, but it's the Flash Annual. So I will question if that's going to be something that's actually in continuity once everything's wrapped up.
All I know with the Flash is Dad is never dead. The fact that we got Barry back after so long.
I mean, that book, I think it's interesting that we didn't really bring up Heroes in Crisis much outside of the art. Partly because it's only been 3 issues, but it wasn't like we wanted to complain about it. We didn't want to praise it too much either. We're kind of in this, like, it's solid, let's see what it does. Let's see where it goes now.
It's not exciting any of us, though, is it? Realistic. Like, I mean, we're maybe intrigued to see where it goes, but I'm not like, I really want the next issue of Heroes in Crisis.
I'm befuddled by it. Like, I feel like...
I'm
That's
intrigued.
a good word,
Yeah, because I feel like Elongated Man, there's a mystery afoot.
The way we spoke about, every time a Doomsday Clock issue comes up.
Oh, absolutely, it's not that standard. Yeah. What I will say about Heroes in Crisis, though, is that book has time travelers. That book has this holodeck thing going on. I think the last issue had Nemesis in it, who's a master of disguise. I feel like every single issue has added another get out clause, where all of this is not what it seems.
And it's kind of like a magic trick. You know that they're fooling you, but you're amazed with what they're going through to fool you. Yeah, that's why I'm at.
Amazed is a strong word.
I feel like the point now is that we know we're being tricked. It's about sussing out what the trick is.
Which one is it?
Yeah, and that's okay because it means Wally's still going to be alive.
What if it's just the Prestige in comic book form?
I kind of hope this is all in a sad, twisted way. I hope we're all just in denial.
No, because
we're like going, there's a way out of this. There's a way out.
Even if you somehow convince me that Wally's actually dead because of Didio, there is no way in hell Poison Ivy is really dead. There is not a chance in hell. So it's not real.
I happen to agree, which is why I'm not worried, right?
I mean, Lagoon Boy, sure. I mean, you can kill him. It's fine. No one cares.
Lagoon Boy. Other things I'm excited for in 2019 is Shazam.
Sure.
And the prominence. Because we're getting the movie. We got the series back.
Yep.
It's...
Yeah, more issues. We had one great issue, but we're getting a lot more issues, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Obviously, except for the ending of Doomsday Clock, and we were told at the time when this was starting that once that finishes, all the other books are going to jump forward to catch up. Now, I'm intrigued to see if that's still going to happen, because it feels like this is taking so much longer.
I think
will they do that?
I don't think they'll all do it in the same month. I think they'll all do it when the arc they're on ends.
Finishes.
I can see the alternative is what they'll do is they'll finish their arc and then Doomsday Clock's 2 months away. You haven't got time to do a full arc, so just do kill time possibly, for a little bit, and then we can jump at the same time.
Yeah, possibly. I can see them doing that. So, and I'm curious to see how it'll work in, because obviously they've known about this for a long time. You know, Tom King's doing 100+ issues of Batman. He's known this is coming, so I wonder if he's had a long thought out plan of, no, this is where the year jump's going to happen, because it makes sense in his story to have the year skip there. You know?
Yeah.
And maybe that ties into the event that he's doing.
I wonder how much
75.
the delay of Doomsday Clock threw a lot of plans, you know, just out the window for a lot of writers, in the idea like, oh shit, that's where I was going to jump. Now I've got to change everything.
I wonder. Well, so many writers have probably changed because of the jump. That, you know, because obviously at this point we have Batman and Flash have had long-standing writers since the start of Rebirth, but a lot of the others have all changed hands, and I wonder because of that it's not really affected that much. Those two writers probably had a plan in place. Maybe they had to move it because of that, but. The delay to you know, every other month happened at the end of last year, so they've known for a long time. So
they've obviously rethought it out. I just meant when that happened. Did they scramble? And go,
at the very least, they've had so much time knowing when it's coming that I don't think it's going to be a big deal. You know, in terms of,
I don't think it will affect much in the long term. Just a moment to them when that news came out, they had to back to the drawing board.
Yeah,
it's also weird that it's Flash and Batman. And they've been so consistent because the same writers. Yeah. And those two writers work together because, like, Williamson's coming in for those Batman issues.
Also, I want to take a bet here. After Detective 1000, is Detective single shipping?
Yes.
You think yes? Yeah. I am of two minds. I think Detective sells well enough to not have to, but I also think they probably will, because it's actually worth mentioning. I was thinking about this the other day. We only have 5 double shipping books now. Compare that to the start of Rebirth. We have 5. We have Batman, we have Detective, we have Wonder Woman, Flash, and Justice League. That is the 5 double shipping books.
I'm going to say no, because I think a big reason that they went single shipping with Action Superman after, you know, that relaunch was that, well, hang on, Bendis is having both of these. Yeah. He's not doing 4 issues. Whereas here it's like, well, no, Tomasi's doing 2, King's doing 2. So it still works out.
I think DC have decided they don't like double shipping that much, but there's a few of them that sell enough that it's worth doing because they make a lot more money doing 2 Batmans a month.
Yeah, I hope Wonder Woman stays double shipping.
Me too.
Yeah, I hope they all the ones that are still double shipping, I kind of hope stay double shipping.
What are the other ones? There's those 3:
Batman, Tech, Flash, Justice League, and Wonder Woman.
Flash, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I could lose Tech and keep the 4.
I think Justice League's a really nice one to have double shipping as the flagship team.
I think Batman and Flash, with both writers doing these 100-issue runs, it makes sense to have them come in at a good pace.
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman, if it was going to switch to single, would have done it with G.W. Wilson start.
I can see that. So I think Detective's the most likely one, honestly, out of the whole bunch.
I agree with that, but I think the fact that Wonder Woman and Flash don't have second books.
That's true.
So that's why they can double ship. If they introduce a second book with either of them, I think they drop down to single as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Batman sells enough to justify 20 issues a month.
Yeah.
So no, and obviously we're excited.
Don't give him ideas, Connor.
Yeah, obviously we're excited because we were assuming we're going to see the JSA in 2019. We're assuming we're going to see these things. We've been talking about this since episode 1 of this show. We were talking about getting to this point, and we're finally it's on the horizon, and we can kind of see it in the distance.
We'll be heading towards like the 200 mark when it's happening.
Well, we'll be at 150 about a month after Detective 1000. Just to put it in perspective, so you know we'll be up there in numbers. Just to sort of rewind a bit, I think we didn't quite necessarily do all the hits and misses of 2018, because sure there's some hits in terms of storytelling that we're happy about overall. Like I assume we're happy with the direction of the Justice League books. Maybe the negative thing there is the delay and then the changes on Odyssey, but
the idea of when they brought in the banner of New Justice, these are the teams, these are all the new Hall of Justice, and that absolutely a hit as to no, let's give them all a cohesive direction and link them together in at least a tangential way where they feel like no, these are Justice League teams rather than just a collection of characters. I'm going to give you some misses, even though there's been some good things that came out of this, or at least one of them so far. I think New Age of Heroes kind of withered and mostly died this year.
Yep. Died on the vine.
The reason is I think it was an off-the-cuff announcement in response to Marvel's comment about artists. They made this the artist line, and then when they started having to change artists,
And obviously, we love Silencer. I love Terrifics, and I really like Sideways. And Sideways is getting cancelled. Obviously, we have 2 that we care about that are left, but most of them are non-starters. Some of them, became mini-series just kind of by default. It was,
new challengers.
That was basically it. And I think to an extent, Black Label's in a really weird place. Even though most of those books haven't come yet, so many have been delayed. The one book that's came out has been plagued with controversy about changing panels. I didn't even know this when I read it, but apparently issue 2 of Batman Damned was heavily edited and pages were taken out because of.
Jeez.
They basically changed their mind as to what was allowed in this run. After the first one with the penis.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same in the trades. Obviously, Murphy was talking about White Knight, and obviously that was its trade was getting printed under the Black Label banner, and he was under the impression it was going to use the uncensored version that he originally drew of Harley Quinn and Joker in bed, and then it came out and it was still the censored version, and he was like, "Wait, what happened?"
And then the Black Label thing for now is, other than Batman Damned, is just a logo that's on some trades that have been reprinted. That's essentially what it is right now.
Yeah. Well, they just re-released All-Star with the Black Label.
Yeah, All-Star. I think Dark Knight Returns. I think Watchmen maybe got a Black Label. I think
what it's kind of become is
Prestige.
How I think Mr. Miracle will get one printed under that. You know how earlier when we talked about Mr. Miracle will add to that shelf of here are DC classics that are always in print that you can get not just in comic stores, you can get not even just in bookstores, you can get them in lots of places.
They kind of said it was going to replace Elseworlds, but I think that it just replaced the OGNs, the original graphic novels, because I feel that's what they're going to be,
a bit of a combination. I think I say it's that DC classics, that idea of these are the ones that you can just hand to people.
It still kind of looks like most of them will be released in a sort of prestige 3 or 4 deluxe issue kind of formats, but. It feels like all the rest of them feel so far away. I know the Secret History of DCU, which was one of the first ones that got announced before they even called it Black Label, has been indefinitely delayed right now.
Oh, really?
That was the official word I saw on Twitter in the last week or so, which I'd forgotten about until we started talking about this, which is why I didn't mention it.
Because I got really excited for that one.
And I don't know why.
I just feel like DC bit off more they could chew with Black Label, the current books, and then you also have Ink and Zoom, which I haven't really seen anything about them in a while.
I don't know if they've come out yet, but they've been solicited.
Yeah, they've been getting solicited about twice a month. Okay. So they're gearing up for that. I think that seems to be going okay.
Cool. And I'm just looking forward. Go ahead.
If I have to choose between Black Label and Zoom and Ink being the success, the one they focus their energies on, Zoom and Ink.
Yeah, because
get the new blood in.
The regular comics are fine for us as adults reading stuff. We're fine with the regular comics.
Our market's already filled. Get the younger market there. Focus on that. Well, and then in 5-10 years when those kids grow up a bit, they can read these ones and they'll be happy with these like we are.
Yeah. A bunch of poozers can start reading Crisis and whatnot.
One of which is in at the age where they're just reading constantly. Like, I'm excited to go to the shop and get her stuff because she's really interested in Wonder Woman. And her mom's trying to squash that because since they're a Disney family and Marvel's owned by Disney.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How does a parent think like this?
Because this is my wife's sister.
This is like a
Marvel's
parent.
The only one that's okay.
This is like a parent who says, no. We are a PlayStation family. You can have an Xbox. I don't care that you want one for Christmas. You're not getting it because we're a PlayStation family. Piss off with this.
That happened over Christmas dinner. My niece was like, "Yeah, I like Wonder Woman," and her mom goes, "Well, no. Remember we talked about this. Wonder Woman's not Marvel."
This is stupid. This is like terrible parenting.
I almost threw my remote, but my PlayStation was still new.
Yeah,
old. I would have winged it.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, well, no. She's showing interest. So now I'm going out and buying her the DC superhero girls.
Matt, the Arrow one just got solicited this past month.
Every single birthday and Christmas, Matt, Wonder Woman books. You shove Wonder Woman in her face.
Oh, Wonder Woman, that Mara one that's coming out that they're comparing to Little Mermaid.
Oh,
that's getting bought first day.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's the one that just got. I don't know when they're actually coming out. Like, I'm sure they have dates in the solicits.
And it's not just because I'm mainly a DC guy, but I looked and I go, that's so close-minded. It's like Pete just said. No, we're an X family. You're not going to deal with that. Like, that might work with sports and rivalries that are dumb like that. But like, don't squash your kids. You know,
this is so weird. This is like a really like. I'm not saying this about this person in particular, but this feels like when a kid has really racist parents, and you're trying to do your best to make sure the kid's not racist themselves. Like you're trying your best to like get the positive messages in there.
But then again, Disney owns Star Wars, and I try to get them to watch Star Wars, and her mom has no interest in helping me make that happen.
Oh, it's selective then. Very selective.
It's very selective, which drives me nuts. You know, but this is the same kid that I bribed to get on Star Tours with me a couple years ago by buying her a lightsaber, to which the lightsaber went missing shortly after they got home. I know mom and dad got rid of it, but you know, but you know, I try to encourage the nerd stuff.
Such a fascinating insight into.
This is insane, genuinely.
Yeah,
I can't fathom this.
But just to wrap that back round, Black Label and New Age feel like a bit of a whimper this year. Now, Black Label could pull it out if these books start finally coming out, but right now it feels like they've all been.
It's possible they just announced them too early.
Yeah, they're all just not like. Some of them aren't even dated. They're just kind of like, okay, these exist. It's kind of like Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 2, where we knew about that for a long time, and it's just like, okay, when's it happening? What's going on? It's just a thing that exists. You know, in fact, Grant Morrison announced Arkham Asylum 2 at one point. Where the hell's that?
I mean, it'll come.
Sure.
To be fair, Grant Morrison, he says stuff. It usually happens eventually.
Aye. But, you know, it feels like all those books, like, only one of them is surfaced at all. And they were announced fairly early in the year. And only one is kind of, you know... And it's been surrounded by controversy and delays and all sorts. The next issue is not out until March, which was a 3 months gap between issue 2 and 3. You know, it's rough.
Yeah, I get it. Pamejo takes time. He's a fantastic artist. I feel like maybe just wait till he was finished. Which may be what they're doing with the other books, so this doesn't happen.
Yeah, maybe at least wait till he's done with issue 2 and then start releasing them once every other month so it can be consistent. Because in that way, he's got, like, you know, 4 months to do issue 3.
He's a lead. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what about some of the hits and misses. Any other hits maybe ended a positive note that you wanted to praise? What is, you know?
Yeah. No, again, we talked about it on the show. Flash going to new places.
Yeah.
You know, it feels fresh and new. Supergirl, same thing.
I think the whole super line just feels a bit more reinvigorated. This year because of that.
Can I count Bendis as a miss?
I mean, you can if you want, but.
You can when you miss out on Young Justice.
Screw you. It's fine. Young Justice, the show, is returning in like 2 weeks' time. Well, it's like a week, but it's 2 weeks to when I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. Because read the card.
Yeah, and that's enough Young Justice in my life. That'll do me a year.
All right.
I'll just rewatch that every time there's a new issue. I'll rewatch that.
All right, so just to wrap up then, we got a couple of bonus categories, just not related to DC because we do read other comics, and we're going to sort of pick some of our favourite Marvel comics.
Some of us do, anyway.
Yeah, some of our favourite Marvel comics. Funnily enough, I couldn't have answered this a couple of weeks ago, but I've spent the last like 2 weeks catching up on so much shit that I could give you like a top 7 or something like that right now.
Wow.
So you know we could do that. So we'll start with Marvel, and we'll sort of throw out some favourites of the year. So Matt picks Thor.
Yeah. Also, was Phoenix Resurrection this year? Or was that?
It might have been right. I think it was right at the start, end of last year, because X-Men Red, which came out of that with Jean Grey, was like February. I think that started, maybe January.
Okay.
So.
Well, I like that. So there was an extra one.
It may have just snuck into this year.
I'm trying to check for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just give me a second.
Because keep going. It was a weekly book, so it may have just snuck in a little bit.
Phoenix Resurrection, issue 5 of 5 was January, end of January. Okay. So most of it would have been this year.
There you go. There you go.
So there you go. There's a real high point. And I was gonna get into Red, but then it looked like there was a whole thing. I might go back and check that book out now.
It never tied into anything.
That wasn't weekly.
No.
What was it? No.
No. Well, issue 1 was in October, so.
Oh.
Okay, I binged it as it was ending then, and I thought it was weekly.
Yeah. Although, hang on, Comixology is telling me issue 1 was October, and then 2 was January, and presumably the rest. So.
They came out fairly quickly. I mean, maybe every 2 weeks rather than every week, but it was definitely quite quick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Either way, I enjoyed it. But yeah, Thor, This is like part 3 of like I feel like 8 of Aaron's run. Like we're entering this new phase, and it's been fantastic. The most recent issue I read went back to Viking Thor days, and it was just everything you want in a Viking comic.
Issue 8 came out last week, and it was fantastic as well.
And then I've also been reading Immortal Hulk, which I'm a huge fan of. I think this is the most I've gone through phases where I've read Hulk, but it's like 3 issues here, 4 issues here. But this is the one that I've been reading since it came out.
I can vouch for Immortal Hulk. Two things. Sorry about the noise you heard, the Windows noise a second ago, and sorry that the camera's changed a little bit there. I knocked my mic out and it messes with Skype.
He's a clumsy bastard.
I know. No, I totally vouch for Immortal Hulk. I've read all 10 issues of that, and it is a phenomenal horror spun Hulk story.
A proper horror book.
It is a horror book. I think my only complaint would be, and this is a faint complaint, is that I don't think any of the issues have lived up to issue 1 yet. Because issue 1, I thought was like phenomenal.
I don't disagree with that. Issue 1 was the best issue of
the
book.
Everything with like, you know, mild this is just mild sort of general like premise stuff. But you know, everything where Hulk kind of absorbed like an evil, I'll just say spirit from a villain, and then the Absorbing Man shows up who's Hulkified, and see the horror imagery when Absorbing Man starts like freaking out when he absorbs the thing from Hulk.
Yeah,
glorious.
Yeah. There's another horror moment in there that was straight up Cronenberg body horror.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh man. But there's also you can tell it's a love letter to Hulk because you can tell that the writer. There's a lot of the old TV show where he's going from town to town. Yeah. And like, you know, fixing things and having to leave on his own. But then there's a lot of new stuff in there. Like the split here between Banner and Hulk is different than anything I've ever read. You know, it definitely goes back to Jekyll and Hyde origins.
There's a concept of day and night. Literally, like Hulk is night. Has that been a thing before? I've never been familiar with this.
Yeah, when it first started, he was a straight up monster. Like there was and he would turn at night like a werewolf. You know, night would come and that was the Hulk's time.
They also play
then that got. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they also play with reflections a lot. There's a lot of like looking at mirrors and seeing Hulk in the mirror and things like that.
The night and day thing I was never familiar with.
Yeah, that got dropped super soon for the anger because when you want to have Hulk show up in the day, how do you do that?
The way I'm reading it in this book, though, it's not so much that nighttime makes some change. It's just that it's more of a thematic thing where.
Oh yeah. But
it's psychological too. It's Banner's to the point where this is the driver now. It's not so much the anger. It's it's nighttime, and that's the Hulk's time.
And they had an issue where it like went through like 5 artists, but they did it thematically so that like it was like people being interviewed, and it kind of worked that they were all different. Yeah, that was nice.
And then the only other Marvel book I've read, I think in 2018, I read some of X-23, and that was pretty good, but I think it's going to read better in trade, so I stopped. But I really enjoyed what was going on with
X-23 is delightful.
It's fantastic. I've caught up in that completely. It's such a good book. This is a book that I was kind of alluding to earlier about like a changing hands from the previous writer.
And who did it follow on from?
It followed on from a little-known writer who might be good at Nightwing, Tom Taylor. But you know, because I loved All New Wolverine. All New Wolverine by Taylor was what made me love Taylor, right?
Yeah. That finished off earlier this year. Right?
Yeah, that finished off in like April or May or something like that.
Thought so.
A month or two before X-23 launched. But like, and I won't nominate that because I think the last arc of that was probably one of the weakest parts. And it was all good, but it was probably one because it ended on an old woman Laura thing, and I thought that was a weird thing to end it on. But yeah, I know it was fine, but it was just a weird thing to end.
It was a. If it had been 2 arcs earlier, it'd have been great.
Yeah, but it was just weird that was the last one. However, he did get to continue writing those characters in X-Men Red, and there's a lot of Gabby in X-Men Red, and I love Gabby.
Which has now come to an end.
Which has now come to an end. I'm a little bit bitter about Uncanny X-Men because that's why it ended, because they wanted to like take away all the coloured books and just have Uncanny.
And not to spoil too much of our thoughts for the new show, but Uncanny's not as good. I haven't even read X-Men Red. But it's Tom Taylor, and Uncanny is not.
No, I mean Uncanny's like it's not bad. Like I don't mind Uncanny, but X-Men Red is better. How
many issues is it?
11. X-Men Red.
No, Uncanny.
It's on like
7.
Okay.
It's weekly.
Gotcha.
It's only weekly for the first 10 though. Then it switches traditional double.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
It's just the first arc that's weekly, yeah.
And then have either of you read the new Cap by Ta-Nehisi Coates?
I have.
He has, yes.
So I'm one behind, but I'm really enjoying that because instead of running away from what had happened,
the Hydra Cap,
yeah, Coates leans straight into it, and really it is kind of what Cap should be, which is hold up a mirror to this country.
The first couple of issues were a little overly patriotic.
Yeah,
but I think
then when you see what,
groove.
But then it was in issue 4 where he showed like the actual good Hydra did, and that's why it was so easy for them to take over. Because they came in and actually did things, and Cap is still conflicted about that. He's like, well, yeah, they're evil and
you can't
bad,
argue that they had at least some positive impact on communities.
Right. And so I love where it's going, and then it gets super spy driven and ties back into some of the stuff that the last time I read Cap, which was Brubaker.
Yeah, I've not tried the new Cap run yet. I'm going to try it though, and if I like it, catch up for when the new issue hits for the other show. But just on X-23 because we kind of drifted off that. I think like because you're worried that one of the things that I loved about All New Wolverine so much was the voices, the relationship between Gabby and Laura, and how they sound, how they felt. And I don't think Tamaki's missed a beat. It feels like them.
Straight on.
It feels like
Tamaki's. That's the reason I picked up the first couple issues was because I loved being super so much.
Absolutely.
And
do you know what?
And just in those issues, I wasn't familiar with Laura that well. Like I knew her from X-Men Blue, or not Blue, whatever the young team was that Bendis was writing over on X-Men.
Oh,
the time displaced ones. Were they uncanny? No,
it was all new, wasn't it?
That was all new.
There you go. Yeah, the all new team. I was familiar with her there. I didn't know anything about Gabby, so once I got to there, I asked Pete.
Yeah.
And he gave me a quick rundown.
Yeah, Matt.
But having
Taylor's All New Wolverine is a good thing for you to binge at some point when you're in the mood.
It's like 35 issues and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's
I'll get
phenomenal.
through it. But the whole dynamic between Gabby and then they have a honey badger for no reason. Like, it's great.
No. Gabby is honey badger. They have a Wolverine named Jonathan.
Oh, they have a Wolverine. Yeah. Okay. Whatever it is. He's there. He's part of the family.
Because, the action is so good. There's like a car chase. There's a scene in like issue 3 or 4 where Laura's like chasing down a van on a highway, and it is so. The art's really great in that book as well, which is another thing that obviously puts it over. But it looks so good. There was a recent issue where they're infiltrating a school to find something, and it was so funny. Like
I can tell you with certainty, and you are not allowed to argue with me. The single worst thing about X-23.
What was the single worst thing about X-23?
That it's called X-23.
Absolutely. Like they try and justify it with. It was like one line where Laura's like, "I took the name I hated because I want to do good in the world," and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
No, it's bullshit because Marvel editorial tells you had to.
Yeah, but you're only doing it because they didn't want her to be called Wolverine anymore because Logan's back. That's it.
Yeah,
right.
And it's bullshit because she's a better Wolverine than Logan is.
I agree. I like her better.
So wait, what's the Wolverine's name?
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a reason for that?
No.
I can't.
I mean,
it wasn't.
Gabby called.
Not a good reason. She just names it Jonathan.
Yeah.
Well, because I thought Jonathan was the ultimate version of Wolverine. Like he was the son of Wolverine.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea.
That could have been Jimmy too.
Doesn't play with Ultimate Wolverine. It plays with Old Man Logan at points.
Yeah. Right. But Gabby and Laura are delightful. And Gabby as well. X-Men Red. Like there's a just mild joke spoiler for X-Men Red. Basically, they're hiding out in the book calls it Xlantis, which is just in Atlantis, right? They're hiding down there, and they build a Cerebro down there. And Gabby wants to call it Cerebro because SEA Cerebro.
Right.
Because I saw you tweet about that, and I was like, "What book was that from?" I didn't read. Right. That wasn't in X-23.
But the joke is that. Gabby walks out of the scene and says to, because Jean's going to use it to help with things, and she's like, you should call it Cerebro, and she's like, we're not naming it yet, Gabby. It's like, no, you might be the telepath, but I'm going to get this in your head. And for the rest of the scene, she's just off to going Cerebro, right? And then by the end of the book, Jean calls it that just without thinking about it, and I'm like, she did it, Gabby did it, it's in her head.
She incepted Jean Grey.
Yes. Oh, it's delightful. So I expect he's fantastic. I want to bring up another fun book. I want to bring up West Coast Avengers by Kelly Thompson. This is
it's not Kite Man.
I mean, kind of actually one of the things I was going to say about Tamaki was that I actually want to go back and read her She-Hulk series now because I've liked now multiple books by her. I feel the same about Thompson about going back and checking out her Hawkeye with Kate Bishop, because this is a Kate Bishop-led Avengers team, and it's pure comedy. It's Quentin Quire from Wolverine and the X-Men.
Clint on the team too?
He is, yeah.
He is. He's the
and isn't there
kind of a supervisor.
Isn't there like, well, there can be two Hawkeyes. It's fine.
Yeah. So we got our boyfriend. We've got America, who I've never really read before, but I actually quite like her in this, and also Gwenpool, who I actually kind of like. And she seems to have lost her meta powers. Like, she keeps like saying, "I wish I could jump out of this panel, but I've lost those powers," stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. It's really delightful and full of humor, and it just makes me laugh a lot. Like, I like a lot.
I'm enjoying it as well because I was familiar with Kate Bishop and America from Gillen and McKelvey's Young Avengers run.
I was familiar with Bishop from Fractions Hawkeye because she was a big part of that.
Yeah, I never got that far into Fractions run. I read the first chunk and I kind of lost my way. I think it was the release schedule of that.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar with those two from Young Avengers. So this is kind of like, again, it's kind of a sequel in that sense with them. Get their relationships carried over.
For me, when it comes to team books, as much as I love the big epic ones, there's something about a team of oddballs who still somehow save the day that just works for me.
On Kelly Thompson, I really want to recommend the digital Jessica Jones book that she's working on.
Okay.
So Marvel are doing this thing where they release them. So it's you buy one issue and it's like a prestige size. It's actually 2 issues, and it's split into 2 issues inside the book. Like even the solicit text will say, chapters 1 and 2. So it's a 6-issue arc. Just you buy 3 issues.
That sounds more complicated than it needs to be.
It really does. I don't know why they didn't just split. But either way, it's called. It's just called Jessica Jones.
Because Thompson's writing on this has got me so behind her that I will no doubt. I mean, obviously since we're doing the new show, I'll probably try most number ones anyway. But she's doing
now
Captain Marvel.
Check out whatever she did.
But it's like, it's Thompson. I'm trying Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Like,
so the Jessica Jones book was really good fun. It was 6 issues / 3 issues, and they're doing a sequel one that's starting in the end of January, I think, which follows right on from the end of what is essentially the first arc.
Yeah.
Really
Connor, did you read As Guardians of the Galaxy?
I did.
Is it worth it?
Very good.
Okay.
No, I tried it for one specific character, which is kind of a spoiler to say because it's. But it's a character who I really like, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah, I need to check that out."
Well, message me later because I got that earmarked to check out. And I haven't heard anything about it.
I give it till issue 4. No, good.
Amazing Spider-Man by Spencer's solid. I actually think because I've actually not read the newest issue yet, but I've read up till the end of the previous arc with Black Cat. I really like that Black Cat arc. I think he's finding his feet with the dialogue as he goes on, because I thought the first arc, while enjoyable plot-wise, was a bit overwritten with a lot of the narration and stuff like that. I think it's improved a bit since, which is nice.
A couple of books I want to give a shout out to that neither of you guys are reading is basically just here's the Donny Cates section.
Yeah.
I'll get the.
I promised I'm going to try Venom again for this new show. I'm going to try and read more of Venom. All right.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about Venom in a minute. But, well, the first one it was a 5-issue mini. It was Cosmic Ghost Rider. What the damn hell? How did I love that book so much? It's Frank
because
Castle.
It's got Ghost Rider, and he smacks the baby Thanos.
Yeah, so it's Frank Castle as Ghost Rider goes to the past to stop Thanos becoming, Thanos, and he basically becomes Thanos' dad and raises him and goes back to the future and sees what Thanos has become under his parenting.
I've been heard it described as Deadpool meets Lone Wolf and Cub.
Do you know what I think it is? I think there's an appeal here for Connor specifically because you know how the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer does that thing where it takes a real thing
took 3 hours
and makes it literal, right? It makes it literal, like, teenagers feel like high school is hell. It literally puts the high school in hell, right? I think Connor's head typically looks like it's engulfed in flames because of the ginger, and I think Ghost Rider is the literal version of that. So therefore,
you're slowly turning you into Frank Castle.
Usually, Ghost Rider doesn't do that much for me, but that mini was so much fun. I definitely recommend.
You're also incredibly pale, so yeah, Skull and Flames is kind of what you almost look like at times.
I'll take it. Yeah, and then Venom. Oh man. holy crap, that book is fantastic. The way it's I don't give a shit about Venom, but
Me too.
no, but this book is doing it's kind of giving it a new mythology. It's like, okay, here are all these things it's connected to, some stuff, from Thor God of Thunder plays in. There's all these things, and then you get like Venom dragon shit. I'm like, fuck yeah.
And also,
this is fantastic.
Just to wrap around to X-Men Red, which I never really said, other than just the fact that Gabby and Laura were really good.
Dragon shit. You
right?
put that on a shirt.
If this doesn't sell you an X-Men Red, I don't know what will. Basically, there's a mutant on the team called Trinary who can control electronics and computers and shit like that. And they hijack a giant Sentinel and use it as their mothership. And like Gabby's decorated it with like girly rainbows and shit. It is delightful. So they fly in a Sentinel.
This is my biggest problem with I said I'm a continuity wonk, but that's only just so far as DC. I feel like this is my problem with Marvel is I learned the continuity and then it's been changing so much the last 5 years. Because the X-Men had a character that Bendis introduced that could basically do that, could hijack. His name was Hijack. Different electronic devices.
I'm sure he still exists somewhere. He's just not been used recently.
Yeah, but like them creating a new one. And then the stuff with Venom too is they went and completely fixed Venom and why Venom was crazy, and now that's all thrown out the window.
I think for me, I typically with Marvel, I don't care about the larger universe as much. I just like good runs within it, and then hope that they don't get invaded as much by other stuff. Admittedly, doing this new show means we will probably spend time on events and like pay attention to it, but.
Well, that was my story. The last time I was reading a lot of Marvel was I really loved the Power Man and Iron Fist book because it was light and fun, and it was basically everything those two characters should be.
Yeah.
And then Civil War II happened and just completely derailed everything that was great and light and fun with the book, and I lost all interest in it. And then, of course, as Marvel likes to do, they canceled it and relaunched the characters in their own books.
As you do.
So,
I will say I also read the first 4 issues of Fantastic Four, which I have literally never read a Fantastic Four comic before this. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of pulpy and sci-fi 60s.
I didn't want to tell you this before you got this far in because I didn't want you to just go, nope, not bothering. 5, the wedding issue is actually really quite long.
Okay.
It's like 3 issues worth, and I didn't want to tell you that before you started issue 1.
But I think isn't it because it's an anniversary issue?
Yeah,
too?
it's
like 750.
750. Yeah, because it says at the end of issue 4, next one's because actually I read 5 technically. I read the wedding special they put out in between.
Oh, that was actually just wedding special number 1, though, right?
Yeah, that was Gail Simone did the main story, which is the bachelorette party, and then there was like a small slot story about.
Speaking of Gail Simone, Domino was great fun. There's only like 1 issue left, and then they're doing like a mini in a few months.
Yeah.
Sad to see it end, but if you liked Plastic Man, there's a good chance you'll enjoy Domino.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
And the other thing I've read so far is the Canny X-Men, which is okay. I like parts of it, but the fact that it's like 4 writers doing a weekly book, you can kind of feel the disjointedness of it.
Just real quickly on Star Wars, I'm only going to touch on 2 books. 2 books. One of them is Vader. I mentioned this because it just ended, with issue 25. Finished off his run. That book got better and better every arc. And I'm kind of sad to see it go because it was really good by the end. It started off good as well, but it got fantastic. The other one is the main Star Wars book, which is now Kieran Gillen, who's taken over from Jason Aaron. It's a lot more focused than Aaron's book became, and also finally the artist changed. I can't remember, was it LaRocca who was on the art before under Aaron? Horrible art, horrible. Because no. The art was fine when it was an original character. If it was one of the characters from the movie, it was very clearly tracing the faces and just the faces, and they stood out.
Oh, I think I saw
examples.
Yeah, I think I saw examples of this.
Too.
Yeah, I think I saw people were posting images of like just how bad it looked. It looked very unnatural because it was just these traced faces.
He couldn't. Cassidy managed to adapt the face to the pose, so at least lined up. Whereas this would feel like their neck was turned around at a really awkward angle just to fit the image on.
Pausing his iPad, just chasing over the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And it was not good. But now there's a new artist. It's really solid again, and I'm like, because I was behind on Star Wars for a while because I just didn't want to read that art. And then they told me, hey, new artist is coming. I'm like, all right, okay, fine. I caught up. And since then, it's been great.
You know what? So we'll wrap this Marvel talk up by just picking a favourite each. Just what our favourite is of the year. So, Matt, you've read the least, surprisingly. Somehow I just swooped in at the end and read a lot. But so is Thor your favourite, or are you going to surprise us?
Thor, yeah, by far my favourite. I mean, I do love Immortal Hulk as well, but Thor. He's my guy.
For the record, I plan on catching up on Thor completely. If not by the next issue, then by the one after that. Depending if I can fit it. I've got like 36 issues. At the very latest issues.
By War of the Realms.
Yeah, by the very latest War of the Realms. But I've got like 36 issues total to read. So I'll be diving into that once I've caught up with all the other stuff that's smaller. Connor, what's your favourite?
Thor is in contention, especially if I consider that the ending of Mighty Thor was still earlier this year. And not going to lie, Doubter Man is better on a Thor book than Del Mundo is. And I like Del Mundo, but Doubter Man's better. But I think ultimately I'm going to give it to Venom.
Oh, okay. I feel the obvious pick's X-Men Red, and X-Men Red I love. I love it a lot. But it feels like it ended before it ended with one big arc, and it didn't get to do anything else after that. I think I'm going to give it to X-23. I think X-23, when I started reading that and realised that this is not even dipped. This is just as good as it was. I'm loving this.
It's the regular artist is the same artist that was the regular artist for All New Wolverine, isn't it?
I think you're right, yeah. I think you're right.
So that helps.
And then you have Frisian covers. Well, at least the X-Men Red had Frisian covers, which were really nice.
Ooh-wee.
So, no, X-23 my pick. But Immortal Hulk and West Coast Avengers and X-Men Red are the next ones kind of behind it. We'll do the community picks after we've done our indie ones as well. We'll do those as a batch together after we've done our indie books, which will be a solid conversation because I've actually not read a whole lot from this year. I've basically... the only stuff of Black Hammer that I've read so far that's from this year is Dr. Star, and I've read the first 2 issues of Firefly. I've had a bad year for reading indie comics.
Yeah, me too.
2019 will probably be better, but that's all I've read. Both of which were fantastic, by the way.
I
think it was this year, but there was a book called Kill the Minotaur. Was that this year, Connor?
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Check.
I'm going to double check. It might have been early this year.
Part of the reason why we're doing this other show is to give me more of a reason to keep up with more indie books. I want to do that. So this is what we're going to do.
Expect more next year is what he's saying.
Yeah, expect more next year. Yeah. Next year I'm coming loaded. Next year I'll have not only 12 or 10 issues of Firefly, I'll also have 12 issues of the hit comic book series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So that's very important.
He actually will, that prick.
I know. It's starting in January. It's perfect.
No, Matt, that finished last November.
Okay. That's not long it's been.
That was issue 6 was last November.
I think Matt's abstaining from this one.
No, because the only indie book I read every month is Birthright.
That's what I was going to say, Birthright, yeah.
I know one that Pete's read that he hasn't mentioned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gideon Falls.
Oh, I'm not up to date, but yeah, you're right. I have read the
first arc, right?
I read the first 3. I've not read the first arc.
Okay.
But it's very good, and I feel like I can just trust Lemire and assume that it's good, and just be like, yeah.
Matt, you read Sword Daughter.
Sword Daughter, yeah. I never got to the 4th issue though.
4th issue is kind of the new. It was weird because it was announced as a 3-issue mini, and so those first 3 issues, that's the first trade, that's the first arc essentially. And then they decided, you know what, we're going to carry on. So issue 4 is essentially the second book.
It's in my box at my shop. I just, haven't had time to pick it up.
I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite when I've read really only just a couple of things and not necessarily up to date on them. It feels good to pick Firefly when it's only 2 issues. So generally, what I'll say is even though I've not read an Age of Doom and Quantum Age yet, is that I'll probably say that Black Hammer as a whole is my favorite thing going on in the indie realm.
It is fantastic.
And I'm looking forward to catch up on Gideon Falls. I'm looking forward to reading more Firefly. I'm looking forward to Buffy. One of the things that I'll be covering as well on the new show is stuff like Alien comics. And it's going to be a while before I do this, but eventually once I've caught up on everything else that I need to do in the near future, I do intend on catching up on Turtles so I can talk about that on a regular basis. Because I do love Turtles. But
that's cool.
I'm like 45 issues behind in that right now, so it'll be a while.
Yeah, so I've read a bit more than you guys. I'll just briefly go through a few of them. Royal City, that finished off earlier this year from Jeff Lemire. He, writing and drawing that one. It might be my favorite Lemire book.
That's saying something.
Monthly.
I also want to point out that that's the third Lemire book mentioned in this indie section.
Yeah, Lemire's killing it.
Yeah,
it's not my favorite because it's not my favorite Lemire work, but in terms of monthly books, that's up there. Obviously, we've already mentioned Gideon Falls, Black Hammer, yada yada yada. Blackbird just started a couple of months ago.
I'm going to give that a try.
Humphreys.
I'm just jumping in when it's something that Connor's reading that I'm going to try for the new show.
Yeah. I bought this because it was Jen Bartel on art, and I think she's fantastic. Humphreys, I was like, well, I mean, could go either way, right?
Yeah, Humphreys can be hit or miss.
Pretty good so far. I'm really enjoying it, even although the art is the main draw still for me.
I'll make a guess here for the next one because this is all stuff that I know I'm trying because you're reading it. Skyward.
Yep, Skyward. I've read the first arc. Fantastic. Lee Garber on art is just incredible. It's so expressive and cartoony and fun in kind of a points a hellish world. But at the same time, there's no gravity in this world, and you can essentially fly and control that. People are gonna have fun with that.
Does everyone have little I don't want to say engines or fans so they can direct themselves in the air? Does everyone have something?
Usually, yeah. And it's like the idea that people don't use guns anymore because the kickback force can if you get shot up into the atmosphere and you lose and you can't get back down, tough shit.
This is a fun premise. They're developing is that a TV show or a movie they're developing out of this?
I think it's a TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be certain on that.
But I'm intrigued by it. But
yeah, I definitely recommend. It's so much fun.
I'll guess another one that Connor's going to say. Isola.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that is Isola.
Yeah.
I mean, however it's said,
pronunciation
is another book that is gorgeous. It's downright gorgeous. This is a young character escorting their queen who has been transformed through ways we're not entirely sure into a tiger.
Oh, that's my excellent.
And it's there's these things hunting them, and they're trying to get away and keep the queen safe. It's a gorgeous book. I'm really looking forward to the second arc of that, which I think is starting very soon.
Cool. Well, you've actually got a selection, so pick a favorite.
Pick a favorite. Oh, I'm gonna have to go with Royal City because that. Oh man, that got me good.
I guess that's not surprising, given you said it was your favorite Lemire work.
Yeah.
All right, so just to wrap up, then we'll have the community picks of these. Again, individual lists from us have been thrown in here to make it a list that's combined from us and you guys, all the patrons. So, top Marvel books. We'll do a top 5. Number 5 is X-23, which, damn you all, should be higher. Number 4 is X-Men Red. Damn you all, should be higher. That's basically my thoughts. Number 3 is Venom.
Damn you all should be higher.
Number 2 is specifically people. I mean, I got a mix of what people were counting for this, so I just kind of wrapped them together into Thor because half the people said Mighty Thor, half the people said Thor. I just sort of counted it as one because no one put both. No one said specifically this one and that one lower.
Just Thor by Jason Aaron.
Jason Aaron's Thor.
Yeah. Right. So that's number 2, and number 1 is actually Immortal Hulk, which I am pleased with because I like that book a lot.
Yeah. Good job, people.
Yeah,
it's very good.
That's a very good Marvel list. What can I say? That's very good. And then indie books, and by indie here, I mean because it's debatable. Does Dark Horse count as indie? I don't know if it does, but
I mean that's where they got their name from. Yeah, because they were the Dark Horse of the big two.
Yeah, but hey, so number 5. This is probably largely due to me is Firefly, but I'll take it. Number 4 is Dr. Star. I didn't write down the full title, but it's like Dr. Star and something. So that was number 4. Number 3 is Ice Cream Man, which
I meant to check that out.
Yeah, that was obviously all our patrons who suggested that. I read that.
For the record, it's Dr. Star and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrows.
There you go.
I need to read that book.
It's kind of doing his take on Legion at points, Green Lantern.
And Starman.
Sounds like Doc Savage on top of it.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Royal City.
I take responsibility. It can't have been just me.
That wasn't just you, but you're definitely why it's at number 2 and not say 4 or whatever. And then number 1 is Black Hammer: Age of Doom. So Lemire got 3 books out of the top 5. Lemire winning the indie race, basically.
I think we should just rewind this whole show and give Lemire best writer.
No.
Well, what's interesting next year, because the one change, as I said earlier on, for this show will just be the annual, where it'll become the award show for everything. And I think what's interesting at that point, does best writer and best series, are they for everything? You know, is there like an overall thing?
I think we will have to put that to the people closer to the time.
I like keeping them in separate conferences. I like keeping
and people will not give us a 50-50 result this time.
I know, you bastards. Which, for the record, we didn't even say what we decided. We decided that it would be a separate feed, because I think the people who don't want it on the same feed, because they just care about DC, will be more pissed off that it's there than the people who care about getting it will be pissed off that it's not there, if that makes sense.
Are we putting the first one on this feed so everyone can just try it in case?
No.
Okay.
You do just like what I do when there's a Bill Simmons podcast I don't want to listen to because it's basketball. I just don't download it. But
yeah, but I mean, the people who spoke, it technically did win by 2%. Like, dedicated feed won by 2%.
Hey, that was enough for Brexit.
don't you dare.
And we all know how that has ended up, Connor. So
it hasn't ended up.
Yes,
exactly.
That went well. There's still debate. So basically, the vote said we have to decide, and we went on the side of caution. The downside is there is a downside to being a new feed. The new feed does mean that if there's a particularly long episode, and by long we mean over 2 hours, which given the DC podcast going over that could happen. It means it may have to be split in 2 parts for the audio feed. So if that happens, don't panic. It's okay. But we do read a bit less Marvel and others, though, so it might come in...
At least right now.
At least right now. So it might come in a little bit shorter, but we'll see. But it's over 2 hours. We're going to have to split it into 2 for the audio, so don't panic if that happens. I actually have already submitted the feed to iTunes. The feed already exists. I put up like an old Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review, because you have to put something on it for iTunes to accept it. So I put up just an old S.H.I.E.L.D. review of an episode, but it doesn't say that. It says like test upload.
And that will presumably be deleted once the first episode goes up?
Absolutely. Once the first episode is up, I'll delete that. But that's there. So you can go subscribe to it just now. It's called Elsewhere in the Multiverse. It's got a red background with white text. It's very Marvel in colouring, although it is also Image and Dark Horse and IDW and whatever else we want to read.
Yeah. And then if you subscribe to that now, that'll be ready for you as soon as we're done. Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, whenever that ends up being...
I can see the first one being quite long because we will be doing sort of catch up, and this is what we think of all the current runs, and
it'll be kind of what we just did, but in more detail.
In more detail, with talking about plots and some spoiler stuff. I should have read at least up to the end of the arc in Age of Doom, for example, and we can talk about that.
We've got some new number 1s from this week to talk about.
Yeah, there's actually 3 new Marvel books to talk about. We have X-Force number 1, which I've not read yet, and Uncanny X-Men number 7. And Fantastic Four number 5. We're all this week from Marvel, so we have 3 new issues, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So we can talk about those. So you can look forward to that. And if you don't care about any of that, you don't care. He's like, no, I just like DC. That's fine. This is not changing. Your DC podcast is still here every week.
We like DC too.
Yes, we like DC more. That's why this existed first.
Yes.
That's why it existed first. We have a pretty big week of books. In fact, I never even thought that I need to tell you what's coming out next week.
I was about to prompt you. So.
Yeah. I actually never even thought. I'll just get my handy list up, and we can tell you what's coming next week.
Week 4/1.
Yeah, this is week 4 of December, which is week 1 of January. So the weeks are all knocked back in January. But here's what's coming next week, as per the solicits from 3 months ago. Heroes in Crisis number 4, Detective Comics 995, Action Comics 1006, Wonder Woman 61, The Flash 61, Batgirl 30, Justice League Odyssey number 4, Titans 32, The Terrifics number 11, and The Silencer number 12. All that confirmed, all that's there. Yeah, it's cool. Also out next week is Batman Beyond 27, Old Lady Harley number 3, and Raven Daughter of Darkness number 11, which we will not be covering. It is worth mentioning, I'll be doing a very similar format in the other show, but when it gets to the end and I'm telling you what's coming next week, I won't be telling you what we're not covering, because technically every publisher counts for that, so I'm not telling you every book that's coming out.
Yeah, maybe if there's some key Marvel book that we're not covering for whatever reason.
But it'll be the ones we're covering that's coming out next week, because I can't account for everything. Whereas DC obviously is a set list. You know, it's finite. I can do that. So yeah, it is worth mentioning if you watch the standalone reviews for Firefly issues 1 and 2, which at the time was going to continue, that will be rolling into this new show, as will the planned single reviews of Buffy. That'll be part of this podcast instead, because that'll just be where we can talk about it. And it means Connor can talk about it as well, because he'll be reading them too. So
yeah, definitely.
So that'll be fun. So that's what's coming up next week. So it's a pretty fun week for DC. A lot of books I'm excited about, and this has been kind of a hefty annual episode. But I guess it makes sense that the end of year wrap up would be meaty.
I am very hungry.
I am also very hungry. That is what I'll be doing. So no, that has been the end of 2018. We're going into 2019. It is technically not the third year of the podcast in the sense that it's been 3 full years, but it's the third calendar year of the podcast.
I mean, to be fair, we started in like May.
Yeah, it'll be
so we're like we're over 2.5.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years in May when we hit it. And we got our 150th special coming in about April-ish. And so big things ahead, a lot of big books coming, and thank you very much for everyone who's been around over the years since the start of the show, but especially this year. Any new listeners and viewers over this year, we welcome you. Any patrons, we obviously are very thankful for. If you're interested in supporting us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can do that over there for as little as $1, which at least now one of the perks is to get into the end of year voting, not just for comics, but also for our movie shows and our TV shows and things like that.
Just to mention, obviously, one of the perks of being a patron is at the $5 tier, you get the bonus episode every month.
Yeah, the monthly vote. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, not vote. You vote sometimes. Some episodes are voting.
That's what I was going to specify. At the end of the last one, we said that the next month will be a vote because January has 5 Wednesdays. It will actually be February where you get to vote because of some specific scheduling reasons.
Yeah, or we could tell them, because Doom Patrol's coming out in February TV show, we want to do a Doom Patrol book in January in advance of it. So we've just swapped that with the vote in February, so you can expect that because the show's starting and hopefully will be fun. So that's cool. And then anything else? I just started doing a weekly live show on YouTube, just myself, but you can come and talk to me about comics if you want, or movies or TV shows or whatever.
Yeah, apparently people liked it last time.
People did like it. People showed up. It was a really fun couple of hours of sitting chatting to folk, and a lot of comic talk, a lot of TV talk, movie talk, that kind of stuff. We had good fun. People are wanting me to list off all the Blu-rays behind me, and I was like, oh god, that'll take a while.
That's a whole separate project in itself.
Yeah, that's just the horror section for the record, right? All the other Blu-rays are up behind the camera, so that's a whole mission. Matt, final thoughts for 2018?
This year we're gonna get the Legion and Justice Society, so I'm happy.
Connor, final thoughts for 2018?
It's been a long damn year.
My final thought is Tom Taylor should write all the books. So thank you very much for being with us. Obviously, guys on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast, like, subscribe, all that usual stuff. All that helps as well. You know, Patreon's great because obviously if you can afford it, and that's fantastic, we love it. But if you can't, don't feel bad. You can support us in a number of ways: liking, watching, subscribing, sharing out, just letting the ads play on YouTube. All these things, they're all wonderful things, and you should be praised for them.
Reviews on iTunes if you're listening through there.
Yeah. All these things, or even I think all the podcast apps do reviews as well and ratings if you do it on that.
Yeah, it helps it helps with the recommendations for other people to find us.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much for a wonderful 2018. It's been a fantastic year for the show. I think we have went up about 35% in viewer/listenership since the start of the year. So thank you for that. Hopefully you'll stick around. Hopefully enough of you care about the other show to go and check it out as well. Maybe we'll grab a few new people who don't care about DC on that show. It's possible.
It could happen. Apparently those people exist.
I will literally start that show with a disclaimer that we are fairly noobs to Marvel. We don't know the history as well.
Please don't hate us.
It's a learning experience, so that's part of the fun. But hey, that is us. So Matt doesn't pass out, because I can see him getting slouching in the chair a little bit. A little bit droopy.
My legs are numb.
Matt's over there just singing Linkin Park to me, like, I've become so numb.
Yes.
All right, that has been annual number 3. Thank you very much once again. So look forward to all the big stuff coming. Look forward to the 6th Dimension. Look forward to Detective 1000. Look forward to all these new shows from DC Universe. Because of course, me and Car do television for the Multiverse. We do all the DC TV shows. We didn't even mention that, but it's worth mentioning.
I thought you were done with the plug-in.
Yeah, one more, just one last one, because it's worth mentioning.
Food, damn it.
It's worth mentioning. Thank you very much. We love you loads. Always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Oh, Tom Taylor Legion book.
Tom Taylor Nightwing book. I thought Connor was going to do one.